Happen at Buckingham Palace at precisely 12:30 a.m.
Oh, they're turning the lights off?
They absolutely are.
And all the foreign crews are furious, because their audiences will have just woken up. So when all the American broadcasters want to stand outside Buckingham Palace and say, "Here I am live," it's going to be completely dark. Selfish of us. Why couldn't we time the wedding to be in the middle of the night here, so the Americans could watch? And I hope there are ad breaks, so that NBC can shove in an advert for, what is it, nachos they have?
What is it? According to the Telegraph, Kate has invited her very first boyfriend, Willem Marks.
I like Williams that are too posh to bother with the E bit.
It's very posh.
Willem. What's your name?
Is it Bill, Will, William, Willem? There's even a video wedding book for the public to sign. So let's have a look at some of the messages of goodwill and affection that have been left so far. Royal wedding will cost in one day half what the UK spends yearly on help for the unemployed.
Oh, lovely.
May their long and happy marriage be the last one of the monarchy of the UK. Vast numbers of people couldn't give the tiniest shit. Do I need to do this number 6 ones?
Helen Mirren.
Yes, sorry.
Oh, that's
right.
nice. We'd all like to do Helen Mirren, but we don't want to play quiz show, mate. That's what we're doing here.
Helen Mirren played the Queen, of course.
Oh, right, yes, yeah.
And here she is talking about John Gielgud on BBC Breakfast News.
So that always inspired me. He always took kind of edgy choices.
Yes, and he swore a lot, as I remember. And there was
Well, in that sort of wonderful voice you had.
Exactly. that was
You
the
little
comedy.
shit.
Oh, no, you can't say it.
Take that back.
No, it was in the original pre-recording this time.
If you heard that, we're very sorry.
According to the Daily Telegraph, in musical terms, a song is an unlikely combination of choral and rap, known as crap.
I think I'd rather like that. What? Zadok.
Really good.
You'll never guess what I just imagined. I imagined that was empty.
It's the best reaction I've ever got out of Paul.
You've never said before. Oh, well, that's guaranteed that to be in, otherwise you won't explain this to anybody. Oh, dear.
Oh!
Right, Paul and Marcus.
There's a woman being inflated on the beach.
Yeah, that's the girl who was accused of being a Russian spy because she went out with a politician. They found that she wasn't a Russian spy, she was just a Russian.
Yep, you're quite right.
They thought she was a spy. She used to go into the House of Commons canteen and say, "These sausages are rather cold for this time of year." The seagull flies high above Krakow. It sounded like secret messages.
I think they actually thought she was a spy because she made a beeline for a member of the Liberal Democratic Party.
So not very well informed, then?
No. They thought, what other reason could there possibly be?
It's phoning the Kremlin going, they're going to make corduroy compulsory.
Indeed, this is Katya Zyuteleviter, who had...
I know, you bet you've practised that, haven't you?
Конечно.
Yeah, it was very good.
That's all my Russian.
That's very good.
It.
You just learned her name and that was it?
No, конечно. I just said of course.
Bless you. Oh, of course as well, blimey.
Здравствуйте. Меня зовут Кирсти. Как тебя зовут?
Oh!
Very good. Very good.
Hold on a minute, I just want to ring MI5.
Yeah, exactly. You're filling for the oldest trick in the book. We invited you onto this show. This show's not going out this week. These are cardboard figures. That's not Giles Brand, that's a puppet. For the Muppet Show. It was. Right, so yes, this is...
Miss BMP?
Yeah. I don't think he's a real policeman. We do these things so much better than anybody else, don't we? Weddings. Somebody said they employed lip readers to sort of see what they were saying. She said, I do at one point. He said, I do at another point. But apparently Prince Charles at one point turned to Camilla and tried his lip reader, and apparently he said...
Yeah, what nugget did David Cameron share with Nick Clegg?
I've never liked you.
I want a divorce.
Yeah.
He revealed I had to have my trousers let out.
Let's be honest, she's a good-looking girl, but there's no need for that. I mean, that's not...
It's not seamless.
That is just disrespectful. Oh, use the hymn book, use the hymn book. That's what he said.
Blimey, students, they've woken up. They've been told that the teaching budget's been cut, they're going to have to pay 3 times as much and pay it back for the rest of their lives, and they're thinking, I'm not sure I approve of that.
A student was interviewed and said, and I quote, "There's no jobs out there, and now they're asking us to pay £9 grand a year, which if you do 3 years, that's like 21 grand.
Of course, the Lib Dems were staunchly saying, of course, they wouldn't go up, which is great that they got in power and put it up.
Yeah. Well, they had no idea they were going to be in power when they...
Well, they could have
when they made these promises.
Nick Clegg keeps saying it's the right government for the right time, which I think is such a seedy way to sort of dignify opportunism. You know, he would have made a pact with the Klingons if it meant a sniff of power.
I don't know, I think the Klingon manifesto was pretty good.
No. I'm going to disagree here, because the Klingons have shown in the past that they're hell-bent on world domination, so I'm glad the Liberal Democrats are in there with them.
And the Klingons always get the Lib Dems to make the policy announcements.
Absolutely.
They're going to blow up a whole planet. They say, oh, get the Lib Dem to announce it.
The Lib Dem party in this arrangement is the equivalent of the guy you see on Star Trek walking around the planet who you've never seen before, is the first one to get killed. That's the Liberal Democrats in this scenario.
But how does Nick Clegg look at himself in the mirror in the mornings?
Just looks at David Cameron and sees the same thing.
It's a new starter home.
It's a man who's tried to post himself.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes, it is. This is the news that a burglar has been posting himself to businesses in order to rob them.
Fantastic.
How does he get out with the loot?
Well, how does he get himself delivered in the first place? Does he just sort of get into the box outside a post office with the address on it in the hope that the postman will go, I must have missed that earlier. 15-stone package.
Do you know what ruined the plan in the end?
Yeah, wrong postage.
Yeah, not enough.
This isn't a British story, though, is it?
No, he's Polish.
Yeah, because you'd just die in the box, wouldn't you? Waiting to be sent.
They force him through the letterbox. do not bend. It specifically said
News breaks of the tragic lawnmower accident involving the royal correspondent, Nicholas Witchell.
In Tokyo, inventors of the latest high-tech toy, the Kickbot, admit it may have been a mistake to base the software on the England team's recent performance.
In the kitchen of Heston Blumenthal's restaurant, there's evidence that someone's ordered the slow-cooked lamb.
And after analysing the first leadership debates, body language experts conclude that in the event of a hung parliament, Nick Clegg would dither and then join the Tories.
America? Yes, of course. They've just had these mid-term elections. There's Sarah Palin, Ian's favourite. And then there's Obama, the president, who is not doing very well at the moment. The American people, 1 in 4 think he's Muslim, 1 in 10 think he's a terrorist. 1 in 50 think he's a holiday they took in Mexico in 1968.
In the last US election, it was hockey moms. Who are the rabid right-wing Republican banshees these days? What are they called now?
Mama Grizzlies.
Mama
Grizzly in the Tea Party.
Sarah Palin said Mama Grizzlies are ordinary people with common sense who just kind of know when something is wrong.
That's good.
When she was nominated for vice president, the head of the Republican Party in Alaska was asked what her qualifications for high office were. And he paused, and she said, she's the right age, and she's an American citizen.
She gave a radio interview. The host said, how would you handle a situation like the one that just developed in North Korea? Palin, obviously we've got to stand with our North Korean allies. To which the host replied, South Korean. Yeah, said Palin.
How's Bill Clinton been helping out?
Oh, God, has he been campaigning for them? Is that what they've lost so badly? It's that awful moment when Neil Kinnock says, I support you as a candidate.
I think he'd be good for them, wouldn't he, though?
Do you? You liked him? You liked Bill Clinton?
I thought he seemed like a very nice man.
Did you meet him?
I have met him once, actually, yes.
Was he at one of your concerts?
No, he wasn't. He made me feel very special. He came...
Did you keep the dry cleaning receipt?
On the eve of the election, Bill Clinton made his own contribution to the campaign. According to The Times, Mr. Clinton went through 9 different states, including arousal, ecstasy, exhaustion and guilt.
Oh! Right, Paul and Marcus.
There's a woman being inflated on the beach.
Yeah, that's the girl who was accused of being a Russian spy because she went out with a politician. They found she wasn't a Russian spy, she was just a Russian.
Yep, you're quite right.
They thought she was a spy. She used to go into the House of Commons canteen and say, these sausages are rather cold for this time of year. The seagull flies high above Krakow. It sounded like secret messages.
I think they actually thought she was a spy because she made a beeline for a member of the Liberal Democratic Party.
So not very well informed, then?
No. They thought, what other reason could there possibly be?
It's phoning the Kremlin going, they're going to make corduroy compulsory.
Indeed, this is Katya Zyuteleviter, who had...
I know, you bet you've practised that, haven't you?
Конечно.
Yeah, it was very good.
That's all my Russian.
That's very good. You just learned her name and that was it?
No, конечно, I just said of course.
Bless you. Oh, of course as well, blimey.
Здравствуйте. Меня зовут Кирсти. Как тебя зовут?
Oh!
Very good.
Very good. Hold on a minute, I just want to ring MI5.
Yeah, exactly. You're falling for the oldest trick in the book. We invited you onto this show. This show's not going out this week. These are cardboard figures. That's not Giles Brand, that's a puppet. For the Muppet Show. It was.
In a desperate bid to claw back Sunday evening viewers from Downton Abbey, the BBC auditions a new weather girl.
After the sad death of the world's smallest man, someone inquires whether his clothes will be on eBay.
And outside a surgery in London, a Strictly Come Dancing researcher awaits treatment after catching a glimpse of a naked Anne Widdecombe.
America?
Yes, of course. They've just had these mid-term elections. There's Sarah Palin, Ian's favourite. And then there's Obama, the president, who is not doing very well at the moment. The American people, 1 in 4 think he's Muslim, 1 in 10 think he's a terrorist, 1 in 50 think he's a holiday they took in Mexico in 1968.
In the last US election, it was hockey moms. Who are the rabid right-wing Republican banshees these days? What are they called now?
Mama Grizzlies.
Mama Grizzly and the Tea Party.
Sarah Palin said Mama Grizzlies are ordinary people with common sense who just kind of know when something is wrong.
That's good.
When she was nominated for vice president, the head of the Republican Party in Alaska was asked what her qualifications for high office were. And he paused, and she said, she's the right age, and she's an American citizen.
She gave a radio interview. The host said, how would you handle a situation like the one that just developed in North Korea? Palin, obviously we've got to stand with our North Korean allies. To which the host replied, South Korean. Yeah, said Palin.
How's Bill Clinton been helping out?
Oh, God, has he been campaigning for them? Is that what they've lost so badly? It's that awful moment when Neil Kinnock says, I support you as a candidate.
I think he'd be good for them, wouldn't he, though?
Do you? You liked him? You liked Bill Clinton?
I thought he seemed like a very nice man.
Did you meet him?
I have met him once, actually, yes.
Was he at one of your concerts?
No, he wasn't. He made me feel very special. He came...
Did you keep the dry cleaning receipt?
On the eve of the election, Bill Clinton made his own contribution to the campaign. According to The Times, Mr Clinton went through 9 different states, including arousal, ecstasy, exhaustion and guilt.
Time now for the Missing Words round, which features Lower Extremity Review. One of the leading bottom shelf magazines. And we start with Roomy Socks What?
Invite lodgers.
Oh, is this Wayne Roomy?
Yeah, it's a piece of graffiti, Roomy Socks. Isn't it? That's what's happened to spelling in this country. Now, the answer is roomy socks can be worn by anyone.
I used to what? Not now.
Vote Labour.
Says Blair.
I used to love politics, but not now. Yeah, this is just...
Oh, Anne Widdecombe.
Yeah. No, no.
Sorry, I've got
different.
this thing where I just suddenly say her name. This is one of the least embarrassing times it's happened, to be honest. I get quite excited.
No, this is according to Labour supporter Robert Harris. Robert Harris's novel The Ghost has just been made into a film directed by Roman Polanski. Yeah. Comes out with a 15 rating, but Polanski swears it was an 18.
Biscuit police, what?
Crumble under pressure.
Caught hobnobbing.
Arrest disproportionate number of Bourbons.
The answer is clash with 86-year-old granny.
Next, what 3 musical dwarfs?
Pavarotti's autopsy revealed.
On the 3rd day of Christmas. True not going to me.
3 musical dwarfs.
One was 4'2", one was 3.
The answer is Cheryl's birthday gift.
Oh, this is such a lovely story. This is about the pensioner who shaved 10 miles off the marathon by taking a sneaky shortcut and ending up in the Guinness Book of Records.
Unfortunately, he got it quite wrong and he actually finished before he actually started.
He finished in 3 hours and 5 minutes, setting the fastest time ever recorded by anyone over 65.
Over a distance of 12 miles.
Why were suspicions first aroused that something fishy had gone on?
Because he beat the team from Kenya.
Yes, Ian and Clive?
I'm not sure that photo's real.
Is it the Bee Gees?
These are people who've been released this week. These are happy stories.
She's Aung San Suu Kyi, who's the Burmese opposition leader, who's been in prison for 15 years, and she's just been let out of house arrest.
House arrest, yeah.
After a non-violent protest, which seems to have worked.
Is it Paul and Rachel? They were pottering around in their boat. They were taken by Somali pirates, and they've been released. Somebody must have paid their ransom.
One of the reasons they're released is that the pirates were getting bored because they've held them for ages and it's not cost efficient. And the intermediary was a Somalian taxi driver based in London.
So no wonder they kept waiting. They kept saying, yeah, I'll be with you in 20 minutes. It took 3 months.
According to Max Clifford, the couple could make £1 million from TV interviews. Adding a successful book could double or treble that. With a movie, you could go up to 5 million, even 10 million. Then they really will be worth kidnapping.
Here's another for you.
Oh, yes, OK, this is a clip from George Méliès's Voyage to the Moon. That's a nuclear explosion. There was some story this week about, was it during the Cold War, the Americans were debating about whether they should blow up the moon with nuclear weapons. I didn't quite see what they thought the point of that would be.
It's because Hans Blix had told them that the clangers had weapons of mass destruction. Obviously, the little boy was the bomb they dropped on Hiroshima.
Yeah.
So they were looking at something a lot bigger. It was called a fat man. Would you like to see a picture of a fat man?
Yeah.
See? This is the actual bomb. You thought we were going to show you something like this. No.
It's Eric Pickles. He's a member of the cabinet. Have you ever heard of him?
Yes, I certainly have, but
I didn't realise it was that large.
What was the reason why they wanted to do this?
It was like, I think it was sort of posturing, because the Russians had launched Sputnik, so they wanted to make a statement and surprise the Russians by blowing up the moon. Yeah, nothing happened.
Sanity prevailed.
Yeah, because there were doubts over what effect a moon blast could have on Earth, including tidal patterns. Talking of which, floods in this country have now got serious because a celebrity has been affected. Which celebrity?
What's the initials?
PD.
Is it P. Diddy?
Paul Daniels.
Paul Daniels.
Paul Daniels.
He lives by the River Thames.
Correct.
He lives on a little island.
Yeah.
Yes. Paul Daniels said this week that he was furious with the council and that his house was currently under about 2 foot of flooding.
He's been flooded every year for years and he keeps moaning about it. Get a sandbag, for God's sake.
Weird, is it, if you live next to the Thames and then complain about flooding?
In the Thames.
It's like moving in next door to Ryan Giggs and then complaining when he bangs your wife. Like... You surely knew when you moved into the area. This is America's plan in the 1950s to blow up the moon. The plan to fire a nuclear missile at the moon was codenamed Project A119, although its purpose was later downgraded to finding a way of connecting Hartford and Stevenage. That is the actual road. Meanwhile, on Earth, the UK was again hit by widespread flooding. One of the people affected was magician Paul Daniels. He was stranded in his house. The emergency services said despite frantic efforts, they were running out of excuses not to rescue him.
If there's no money, which they said there isn't, does that mean you now have nothing to talk about?
If there's no money, it means we're in a mess, and as you know, the frequency of my appearances goes up.
Oh, right.
With the more that...
And the money you make from that goes back into the economy.
That would be the solution to all our problems.
Right.
Is it very, very bad? Do you remember how bad it was in the autumn of 2008?
Yes.
It could be at least as bad as that again. It could.
You know the end of Reservoir Dogs when they're all red, lying in pools of blood, having killed each other. If that was a sort of standard on the sort of pestometer, where are we at the moment?
The good news is... The good news is things are a lot worse elsewhere.
That's good news, is it?
That's the good news.
Tell you what, you wouldn't believe it looking at your reports.
This is the last thing British banks needed.
You're absolutely right, George. I mean, they need us like a hole in the head. Our banks have become chronically short of cash. Normal commercial sources have more or less dried up. But here's what particularly worries me. Frankly, we might as well turn the lights off and get under the duvet and stay there.
Take a look at this.
That's women bishops.
Yes, it's welcome to Have I Got Pews for You. We must have had that joke before, Ian.
No, there's a reason for that.
No. There's the outgoing Robert Runcie hugging what could be a female member of the laity, or the lady.
I think it's Rowan Williams, actually.
Oh, it was Rowan Williams, wasn't it? Did I say Runcie? God,
yeah, he's
I am
dead,
out
but
of date,
in a real sense, he's still with us. Essentially, as I understood it, there was an overwhelming majority in favour of women bishops, which means you can't have them.
I think everyone was a bit startled, shaken and stirred. Shaken and stirred by this vote, because in this country...
It doesn't help by repeating it slower and louder.
I thought we bonded then, though. Me and...
We have bonded. I was thinking of covering the Israel-Gaza crisis.
No way on the women bishops.
Yeah, well, I reckon the women bishops' story would keep it light. Just shows you how wrong I can be, doesn't it?
I think that in this country we expect people, on the whole, especially beardy Christians, who wear sandals and who say things like, God bless.
I think it's called Jesus. It's called Jesus in the Bible.
We expect them.
Jesus in the Bible.
I know you're a Christian, Ian. What would you have voted for in the bishops?
Really, in this country, you can't go around throwing that sort of accusation at people.
You are openly
I'm a
Christian.
member of the Church of England, which is very, very different.
Is it? Well, it is now.
There are three houses. There's the bishops, and they voted for it, and the priests, and they voted for it, and the laity, they didn't. It's a very, very peculiar decision. But as it happens, everyone's very, very sad and very, very disappointed. They're going to do what the C of E does, is they say, we're going to take our time, we're going to pray for each other, we're going to bitch about each other really badly in private, and then in another 100 years, we'll have another vote.
Yes, but as soon as that.
Yes. No, it's all go.
Reform's just like that amongst religious
Well,
groups,
I'm never
isn't
going to
it?
make it, am I, as a women bishop?
Do you know, I think you're not.
I tell you what, though, this has opened the door for women imams. There's a whole gap in the market
Well, what
there.
I think is that the women in the church...
They haven't quite got round to that yet.
But it was stymied by the laity, whatever that means.
Whatever it means, it happened.
Who are the laity?
They don't know, but they specialise in stymieing.
Did News International senior executive James Murdoch boast about the way the company was handling the scandal only a week ago?
Well, he said that they've contained the scandal and it's now in a box.
Yes, he said, we were really able to put this problem in a box marked fuck up.
He called him a mafia don.
Yeah.
Which isn't nice, is it?
Well, they were very upset about it, and they sent me a letter of complaint.
Really?
Pinned to a horse's head.
What happens to the rest of the horse? I mean, doesn't anyone ever get a horse's arse?
I suppose it must be for more minor misdemeanours, you know.
What, a horse's arse? I think it'd be worse than a horse's head. Wouldn't you? Waking up next to a horse's arse?
It's like...
I think there's something personal about that.
You might say that a horse's arse was more flirtatious, though.
Flirtatious?
That's an odd word to pick.
That's an interesting window into your life,
What, according to The Observer, did Rupert Murdoch do when Gordon Brown became PM and initiated an investigation into the phone hacking?
He phoned up number 10.
After the Guizy?
Yeah.
Their source was an ex-minister who wants to remain anonymous.
Do you think, though, that Murdoch could just ring up number 10 during your time there?
I know nothing.
You know nothing? Is that why you were in the cabinet?
So what did you think of him then?
What, Gordon?
Yeah, he was all right, wasn't he?
He was the Prime Minister.
Yeah. And you can't have a more ringing endorsement than that.
The News of the World may be dead, but its wretched ghost continues to haunt. The News of the World paid a private investigator to carry out surveillance on the hacking victim's lawyer, Mark Lewis, which involved following the ex-wife of Mr. Lewis and his teenage daughter as they visited a branch of Tesco. Well, if you're looking to intimidate someone, every little helps.
Legalising gay marriage, which threatens to rend the Tory party asunder. So who's behind it?
That's quite a question with those Tory backbenchers.
Ignoring the answer would fill other lesser shows, I would say... I don't know. Who is?
It's Cameron Clegg.
Cameron Clegg.
And,
Cameron Clegg, a gay married couple.
Yes. And what is the Tory MP Peter Bone's big problem?
His name.
He's against it.
Yes. It's also that he's protesting that neither the Tories, Labour or the Lib Dems even mentioned legalising gay marriage in their manifestos.
I know it's childish,
yes,
but every time David Cameron says on gay marriage, he says he's got a mandate. It makes me laugh.
So what was the compromise position the government have worked out?
You can't ask these questions.
They can get married in church, but they have to keep the lights off so people can't see them.
The churches that don't want to do it don't have to. That's the compromise.
Yeah.
And it seems they've come up with a solution that pleases no one.
Yeah. They've also changed the Equality Act, so you can't sue a vicar for not marrying a gay couple.
Can't sue a vicar, that's a great phrase, isn't it? You can imagine vicars running around getting away. Oh, can't sue a vicar! Can't sue a vicar!
Do you always act them as camp, or...?
I've got 4 or 5 vicars in my repertoire, Ian.
One of whom is unbelievably butch.
Yours?
All right, OK.
Tittlecott Bridge in West Yorkshire.
Yes. That's nice.
Marathon bars, the English Channel and the Co-op's ambient sausage roll.
Ambient sausage roll. Well, the English Channel was recently in the news this week because I think it's the French or somebody wants to rename it the English Pond. So is that things about being renamed? Like Marathon has famously become Snickers, isn't it, over the years? Gradually, it started off being Sarathan, and it became Snarathan. So it's about name changes, isn't it? All these have been considered for name changes, but the only one that's changed its name is Marathon. It's as simple as that.
No.
The channel hasn't been renamed.
No, right, yes, the channel
English
hasn't
channel.
been renamed. They've all been renamed,
Yeah.
apart from the English Channel, which the EU planners want to rename the Anglo-French Pond as part of an effort towards breaking down national barriers by creating new regions of Europe.
Well, that should improve relations between us and France forever.
In 1990, marathons were renamed Snickers to bring them into line with the global brand. It was originally named after a horse belonging to the owners. Ironically, the horse had been gelded, so no longer contained nuts. So. Ticklecot Bridge, no one followed the story of Ticklecot Bridge? It recently saw its name restored to the more traditional Ticklecock Bridge.
Yes.
After angry local residents launched a campaign. Local newspaper The Pontefract and Castleford Express said the council had been embarrassed because Ticklecock is a sexual innuendo.
No, it's not an innuendo.
No.
It's a statement of fact.
And which group was particularly outraged?
Pedants.
The Castleford area voice for the elderly.
Their slogan is aye.
On to the ambient sausage roll.
Ambient sausage roll, yeah.
Yes. Managers at the Co-op have agreed to remove the description ambient from its sausage roll labels after admitting they don't know what it meant. They have all been renamed, apart from the English Channel, which EU planners want to rename the Anglo-French Pond. In Castleford, residents fought a campaign to retain the name of local landmark Ticklecock Bridge.
Yeah.
Of course, there are a number of other places with names that would make most people embarrassed to live there. There's Shitterton in Dorset, Twat in Shetland, Swindon.
Goldman Sachs, they've been caught out, and the Americans are charging them with fraud. Goldman Sachs invented a bond to sell to people, which was based on subprime mortgages. So it was a pretty hopeless thing to sell to people. But they designed it to lose money, because one of their other clients was a big hedge fund manager who were betting on the bond to lose. So Goldman Sachs were selling this bond to you, saying this is terrific, and behind the back going to one of their clients, bet on this is complete rubbish. So Goldman Sachs basically proved that the entire financial collapse wasn't just an act of God or an accident, it was a fraud.
Can I just interrupt at this point?
Yeah.
Because I should make it plain, the law being as it is.
Yes.
Goldman calls the charges completely unfounded in law and fact.
What does Sachs say?
Yes. He completely
what can
agrees
you
with
do?
him.
You get caught, you get caught.
Frankly, I can't see any of this making it into the finished programme.
Are you worried about libel?
Yes. Unlike you, I haven't ever been done for it before.
I think there's very little chance of you getting any more than 2 years.
Yeah. And anyway, Jeremy, backstage you were saying what a bunch of crooks Goldman Sachs.
You could present your programme from your cell. The mission could be to walk from one end to the other in the shortest possible time.
And we start with the biggest stories of the week. Ian and Nadine, take a look at this.
They're winning, that's the Penguin. He won, he's Mayor of London. Oh, he hasn't won. He's pondering. Hello! There's the Penguin. Oh, off with the jacket.
Is that the reaffirmation of marriage vows?
It is!
Who was the bride?
Nick.
Oh. Well, we know what happens to the bride on her wedding night, don't we?
No, this is the elections, and it didn't go very well for the coalition. And the reason it didn't go very well is because Nadine attacked the Prime Minister.
Nothing to do with the Lords reform being one of our main policies when the country's in recession. Yeah, absolutely, totally my fault, completely down to me.
Excuse me, Miss Nadine, you say that it was your fault, yet your tone does not convince me.
Yeah, you took a drubbing, didn't you, Nadine? Good result for Labour. How many seats did they gain?
740
823. We saw Professor Pongu there in Edinburgh.
He beat the Lib Dem candidate. He did. The Penguin got more votes.
74 more votes than the Lib Dem.
But I think that's because he was wearing black tie. People like posh Nadine, they do really.
But is there already a whiff of scandal? There is a belief that perhaps there might be a man inside this penguin.
Meanwhile, Boris Johnson narrowly won a second term in London. How did Boris respond when asked whether he had ambitions to become Prime Minister?
You know.
According to the Daily Mail, he said he didn't want the Prime Minister's job definitively, categorically, emphatically.
That means he does, then.
But would you object to Boris as Tory leader? Because he's quite posh.
I have nothing against where he was educated. It's how one relates to people who, I suppose, aren't posh. And the vast majority of people in the UK don't go to Eton or Oxford and
do they not?
Aren't privileged. You have to be able to relate to the ordinary lives of ordinary people, and Boris does that.
What, you think he's in touch? Well, I know he's in touch with a lot of the electorate.
That's why he's got a bike.
So here's Boris celebrating his victory. Every inch the statesman. There he is.
The 72 safety deposit boxes were left empty after they were raided over Easter weekend in London's Hatton Garden. The police revealed photographs from inside the scene of the crime this week. What did they show?
Oh, they showed this amazing tunnel that had been dug out by the people who were involved. But the odd thing was, I read somewhere that everybody was confused because apparently one of the men would be too large to fit in it.
They just need one little chappie and he opens the door, doesn't he?
One little chappie?
Yeah.
He goes through this hole.
I'd be interviewing jockeys.
In my experience of blowing safes, yeah. Just one of them needs to be, like the little chap in Ocean's 11. Yeah.
Now, the police have put out a notice. They are looking for a little chappie to help them with their inquiries. Do we know who any of the victims are yet?
Mostly jewellery owners.
Mostly jewellery owners.
lots of gangsters. Lots of the things in safety deposit boxes are stolen, aren't they? Just because you know, you're not allowed to go and look in safety deposit boxes, so anything you steal, Stephen, you can put in a safe deposit box. It could be a material thing, it could be a concept, somebody else's idea, you put it away in there.
Could be the best dressing room.
Jeremy, what's his name, came to see one of my shows in Edinburgh a couple of years ago. I remember my audience wouldn't deliberately mislead anybody. So I'm quite willing to believe everything he says.
So that's you and David Cameron?
Yes. If the Prime Minister thinks he's OK, that's good enough for me. I'm quite naive about these things.
Well, the Prime Minister's had a very good track record.
Yes.
I mean, Andy Coulson was OK.
Yes, he was all right, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Till he wasn't.
Until he wasn't.
Yeah. So what's your reading of the situation, Mr Hislop?
Do you know...
What?
I don't think the government come out very well out of this. It does appear that they were so far up Mr Murdoch's bottom, you couldn't see any of their heads. This is the Leveson inquiry, and it was a shocking day. Mr Hunt was the Culture Secretary. He was in charge of the bid for B-Sky B, and yet his office was giving information all the way through to the Murdochs.
I mean, why hasn't he gone? It's more
well, he's there as a firewall, isn't he? If he goes, then Mr Cameron is looking very shaky.
It's like that thing of when everybody gets annoyed with each other and they end up kicking the dog. I mean, James Hunt has dismissed his private advisor.
James Hunt? The former racing driver? Fantastic. This man. Why am I asking him? He's got no idea. He's mixed up Formula 1 racing drivers with the Culture Secretary. Mind you, if you're going to get his name wrong, it's better to get his first name wrong rather than his second one.
I think I was trying hard not to get his second name wrong. Since
Look,
just in the 70s.
You're all right in the zone. This is the news that the Leveson inquiry has finally perked up at long last, and everyone is
finally perked up. There have been some notably excellent witness statements.
You turned up there, didn't you? You were in a very happy position of having nothing to hide.
Yeah, but I had no idea it was going to get this good. Murdoch today, selective amnesia, fabulous. You know, the medics must be having a field day. Can you remember anything about phone hacking? No. Can you remember how badly all the politicians have behaved? Yeah, bloody well can.
Basically, Ryan Giggs has spent an awful lot of money to ensure that he's become world famous for stuff other than football.
Yeah.
But people still might be sued for telling people that it was him, so...
Yeah, well, that's right. The MP, John Hemming, he said that apparently 75,000 people named Ryan Giggs on Twitter. It's not possible to arrest them all. Well, I mean, it's worth a go, though, isn't it? I mean, Well, the thing is, the injunction is still in place.
That's right.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Despite the people keep going blabbing it out, there's a legal expert, Joshua Rosenberg.
Yeah.
This is what he had to say about it, right?
Well, the law is clear. There is still a court order in force which says that we can't name Ryan Giggs as the person who brought these proceedings.
I'm pleased we can say his name, though, because I was getting so fed up. Every newspaper, every day, it was like, Imogen Thomas has been having sexual liaisons with a man who cannot be named. It's like, what, Voldemort?
Yeah.
I sort of see why he did it as well, Ryan Giggs, because you get the super injunction. He knows that if his identity was known, then people would know not only who he was, but also that his marriage was on the rocks. And at that point, John Terry would be round his house like a sex-crazed whippet.
Yes, the worst kept secret in Britain is finally out. Lawyers are a complete waste of money. As the row unfolded, thousands of Twitter users named Ryan Giggs in what the Daily Mail called one of the biggest acts of civil disobedience in modern times. Top that, Syria, lightweights.
Now, that really is enough about the government's bad week. Oh, no, sorry. Andy Coulson. Where did he unexpectedly find himself this week?
In the back of a cop car heading to Scotland.
Because?
Because they want to have a word.
I had absolutely no idea that you were a gangster.
Andy Coulson.
He's been arrested for perjury.
Yes.
During a trial where someone else was on trial for perjury.
Yes.
While he was actually working for the Prime Minister, which is pretty shocking. You shocked, Alistair?
I'm shocked.
You. I'm glad you're shocked, because, you know, some of the people that this government have been hanging about with, Rebecca Brooks, know her at all?
I do.
Were you shocked when she was arrested?
I've been shocked by lots of things, Ian.
He's been charged, though, not just arrested.
Yeah.
He's been charged.
He's been charged.
Which is why Ian's being so careful.
Yeah.
About Andy Coulson, if not about me.
Well, they haven't charged you yet.
Is it hot in here?
In case anyone thinks I'm being gratuitous, I know that Alistair is going to be reasonable tonight, because he told Leveson, I am robust, but I'm not a bully. So no matter what anyone says, you're going to be really reasonable.
Tonight? No.
That's good, though, to remember. Like, if your kid gets caught, like, kicking a fat kid, just go, no, he's not a bully, just robust. He's robust.
It probably seemed like a good idea when you said yes.
Yeah, people wanting to vote.
Unmanageable turnout of 65%.
That's the Lib Dem votes being chucked in the river. Goodbye to you. Go and watch a film, one of your husbands. Hello, Gordon. Piss off. Did you stay up for Lembit? It was. It's the most important thing that happened in the election.
Because?
It's quite funny.
I was expecting a bit more than that, wasn't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, the great thing about losing my seat is I can actually take a fee for this now instead of getting this kind of abuse for nothing.
It is indeed the overwhelmingly indecisive outcome of the election. In fact, we only know one result for sure, don't we, Lembit?
Can we get on with this? I've actually got an appointment with the job centre in about half.
They phoned earlier, they cancelled.
So, Paul, Ian, the old certainties are gone. It's time for unlikely alliances. Paul, could you ever find it in your heart to put your bitter rivalry to one side and form a coalition with Ian?
Yeah, all right.
Go on, then.
I've got a feeling you're going to win this week.
Can I say I've always wanted this?
Yeah.
I've argued for it for years. And any suggestion that I'm doing it as a matter of convenience is not true. I agree with Nick. Paul.
Do you want to do a rabble-rousing speech on behalf of our coalition?
I think what we offer is not them, basically. People are sick of you coming on here, making fun of the contestants, you know. Just because I'm having a bit of a hard time at the moment, lend us the price of a cup of tea, I'll give it back to you. I've got me Lieutenant Governor, I've got me harmonica, and can play that for you if you want. And I have. No, I have.
Find some change.
I have.
Are we witnessing a mental breakdown?
You do the singing and I'll do the playing.
Blimey, students, they've woken up. They've been told that the teaching budget's been cut, they're going to have to pay 3 times as much and pay it back for the rest of their lives, and they're thinking, I'm not sure I approve of that.
A student was interviewed and said, and I quote, "There's no jobs out there, and now they're asking us to pay £9 grand a year, which if you do 3 years, that's like 21 grand.
Of course, the Lib Dems were staunchly saying, of course, they wouldn't go up, which is great that they got in power and put it up.
Yeah. Well, they had no idea they were going to be in power when they...
Well, they could have
when they made these promises.
Nick Clegg keeps saying it's the right government for the right time, which I think is such a seedy way to sort of dignify opportunism. You know, he would have made a pact with the Klingons if it meant a sniff of cow.
I don't know, I think the Klingon manifesto was pretty good.
No. I'm going to disagree here, because the Klingons have shown in the past that they're hell-bent on world domination, so I'm glad the Liberal Democrats are in there with them.
And the Klingons always get the Lib Dems to make the policy announcements.
Absolutely.
They're going to blow up a whole planet. They say, oh, get the Lib Dem to announce it.
The Lib Dem party in this arrangement is the equivalent of the guy you see on Star Trek walking around the planet who you've never seen before, is the first one to get killed. That's the Liberal Democrats in this arrangement.
But how does Nick Clegg look at himself in the mirror in the mornings?
Just looks at David Cameron and sees the same thing.
What's going to happen at Buckingham Palace at precisely 12:30 a.m?
Oh, they're turning the lights off.
They absolutely are.
And all the foreign crews are furious, because their audiences will have just woken up. So when all the American broadcasters want to stand outside Buckingham Palace and say, here I am live, it's going to be completely dark. Selfish of us. Why couldn't we time the wedding to be in the middle of the night here? Then the Americans could watch. And I hope there are ad breaks, so that NBC can shove in an advert for, what is it, nachos they have?
According to the Telegraph, Kate has invited her very first boyfriend, Willem Marks.
I like Williams that are too posh to bother with the E bit.
It's very posh.
Willem. What's your name?
Is it Bill, Will, William, Willem? There's even a video wedding book for the public to sign. So let's have a look at some of the messages of goodwill and affection that have been left so far. Royal wedding will cost in one day half what the UK spends yearly on help for the unemployed.
Oh, lovely.
May their long and happy marriage be the last one of the monarchy of the UK. Vast numbers of people couldn't give the tiniest shit. Do I need to do this number 6 once?
Helen Mirren.
Yes, sorry.
Oh, that's
right.
nice. We'd all like to do Helen Mirren, but we don't want to voice so much. That's what we're doing here.
Helen Mirren played the Queen, of course.
Oh, right, yes, yeah.
And here she is talking about John Gielgud on BBC Breakfast News.
So that always inspired me. He always took kind of edgy choices.
Yes, and he swore a lot, as I remember. And that was
well, in that sort of wonderful voice you had.
Exactly. that was
you
the
little
comedy.
shit.
Oh, no, you can't say it.
Take that back.
Well, it was in the original film.
If you heard that, we're very sorry.
Oh, America.
America?
Yes, of course. They've just had these mid-term elections. There's Sarah Palin, Ian's favourite. And then there's Obama, the president, who is not doing very well at the moment. The American people, 1 in 4 think he's Muslim, 1 in 10 think he's a terrorist. 1 in 50 think he's a holiday they took in Mexico in 1968.
In the last US election, it was hockey moms. Who are the rabid right-wing Republican banshees these days? What are they called now?
Mama Grizzlies.
Mama
Grizzly and the Tea Party.
Sarah Palin said Mama Grizzlies are ordinary people with common sense who just kind of know when something is wrong.
That's good.
When she was nominated for vice president, the head of the Republican Party in Alaska was asked what her qualifications for high office were. And he paused, and she said, she's the right age, and she's an American citizen.
She gave a radio interview. The host said, how would you handle a situation like the one that just developed in North Korea? Palin, obviously we've got to stand with our North Korean allies. To which the host replied, South Korean. Yeah, said Palin.
How's Bill Clinton been helping out?
Oh, God, has he been campaigning for them? Is that why they've lost so badly? It's that awful moment when Neil Kinnock says, I support you as a candidate.
I think he'd be good for them, wouldn't he, though?
Do you? You liked him? You liked Bill Clinton?
I thought he seemed like a very nice man.
Did you meet him?
I have met him once, actually, yes.
Was he at one of your concerts?
No, he wasn't. He made me feel very special. He came...
Did you keep the dry cleaning receipt?
On the eve of the election, Bill Clinton made his own contribution to the campaign. According to The Times, Mr. Clinton went through 9 different states, including arousal, ecstasy, exhaustion and guilt.
Heinz tomato ketchup moves too fast. It is not allowed to leave the factory. It cannot travel at more than 0.028 miles an hour. That's obviously an average speed, though, because, as we all know, it travels at 0.000 miles an hour on the first 10 shakes and then 1,000 billion miles an hour into your crop.
Look at the top pledge on the top. We will invade Iraq against the wishes of the people of Britain.
Yeah, but it was Miliband who stopped the invasion into Syria. That's something for him, isn't it? I haven't heard you say much about that.
No, because I'm more interested in the previous one, which
well,
you
were
were involved in.
And we made it clear that's so. We made a mistake, there's no doubt about that. But give Miliband the credit for stopping us doing the same thing with Syria.
Okay,
because Cameron was about to get to do it with the Americans.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that. No, Obama
You just don't work about it or talk about it. Anyway, that's the difference between us.
Yeah.
Should we start again?
But you say
I don't think so.
the manifesto will only just come out, so the candidate can't be expected to know what's in it. Is the manifesto meant to be a massive surprise to Labour candidates?
No, but when you get... Well, in our party, you have to get it through the National Executive, and we have a policy making for the manifesto. You don't know necessarily what's coming through. I think some great things have come through, particularly when we're dealing with the Leveson report and what are we going to do about making the press more accountable.
Yes,
That's quite important.
You're going to legislate, aren't you?
What we said about that, we will carry out what Leveson said. We wait to see the press...
Leveson said nothing about a royal charter. He didn't mention it.
I would have thought you, as a journalist, might find that's an important point.
No, as a journalist, it's an unimportant point.
Oh, blimey, in private eye, you're sued every day, for God's sake, for what you say about people.
No, we're not. And certainly not about you. I know you've got problems with the press and your private life, John.
I think the last time you raised it, you got the same move. Why don't you be more specific and say it? Usually straightforward in private eye. What's your complaint?
OK, you're very, very unhappy about the press's intrusion into your private life, because they revealed you were
never
having an affair
complained
with
about
Tracy
it at
Temple,
all.
And it was very embarrassing for you.
No, it wasn't.
God, it wasn't embarrassing.
No, I made a mistake. I owned up to it publicly, and I was waiting for this one to come from you.
You didn't own up to it publicly. You were revealed as doing it.
Hey,
I've got an idea.
I did it at the Labour conference. Didn't you watch
You two
that?
find a room, and whoever comes out alive is the winner.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
That was a death stare. He gave me a death stare.
It depends who's ordering the room service, I suppose, doesn't it, John?
This is like a terrible family Christmas.
What was Donald Trump's latest contribution to the health of Americans?
He mused aloud whether it would be a good idea for people to inject disinfectant into themselves or to perhaps even drink it to clean out their lungs. I think he should be the first to volunteer. He later claimed that he was being sarcastic. There was a marvellous bit when he said, no, I was being sarcastic, I was talking to the reporters, and in fact I was looking straight at you, he said to a reporter. I was looking straight at you when I said this, and the reporter said, I wasn't there.
I was just going to say, we ran a piece in Private Eye 3 weeks ago, which was meant to be a joke, saying that because bleach is very effective against the virus, perhaps you should put your head over a bowl of it and inhale it. And I just had no idea he was a subscriber.
Well, that just is a gratuitous advert for Private Eye. Why isn't Ian allowed to come on and gratuitously publicise Private Eye?
Well, as Paul says, he's got some very interesting ideas on how we might treat coronavirus that the experts might not have thought of.
Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light. And I think you said that has him in check, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or...
Oh, she just looks like every woman who's sat at the bus stop minding their own business and the weird crazy guy just doesn't leave them alone. Like, her logic is just stare at the ground for long enough and maybe he'll go away.
I can think of a good way of getting light into his body. I'd shove an angled poised lamp right up the Oval Office.
She's not completely blameless either, because she's given interviews in which she said that Donald Trump's business past, which involves various bankrupt casinos, has given him skills and insights that really help him understand the science in this case.
Here he is saying goodbye to the first person to try injecting themselves with disinfectant.
We'll do
it. If you can remember back that far, this is the return to work of Boris Johnson on Monday. There's speculation as to how Boris's new son might affect his thinking on government policy. Well, if my experience of dealing with new babies is anything to go by, he'll be wanting to reopen the pubs within about 2 days. Speaker of the House, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, welcomed the news and said for Carrie and Boris, 2020 is certainly a year they will never forget. Although hopefully with enough therapy, the rest of us...
According to the Daily Telegraph, under a no-deal Brexit, British holidaymakers would be banned from taking Cornish pasties with them to the EU. Holidaymakers will be forced to smuggle the food past customs officials.
You might not want to eat it after you've smuggled it past customs officials.
Well, this is the question. If you were forced to smuggle a Cornish pasty through customs, how would you do it?
I know.
Go on in.
Under both breasts, I can get 2 Cornish pasties, 2 bottles of iron brew and a sausage dug.
Any answers on your side?
We can't compete with that.
We haven't worked out why you'd want to take a Cornish pasty to Europe.
You might enjoy a Cornish pasty. It might always be a family tradition to have a Cornish pasty on holiday.
Oh, in Brittany?
Yeah.
And I can keep them warm all the way.
Well, that is the important thing.
Yes! This menopause is not going to waste.
Right, round 2, the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers, here you go. Richard, what's this about?
This was the news that Keir Starmer was elected leader of the Labour Party, replacing Jeremy Corbyn, and replacing indeed a lot of Corbyn supporters in the shadow cabinet as he went along. And his he made it a big priority to reach out in particular to the Jewish community, which he felt the previous regime had perhaps alienated a little bit. I think getting circumcised live on the One show was taking it a bit far, but we look forward to a newly revived relationship between the Labour Party and its traditional Jewish members.
But very traditional members, if he's got circumcised.
Yes, this is the news that Keir Starmer has been elected the leader of the Labour Party after winning a landslide victory. The New Statesman described the scale of the win as unexpected. Yes, the words Labour and landslide victory don't often go together. What has his convincing victory allowed Keir Starmer to change?
Well, a lot of the cabinet, the shadow cabinet. So I'm getting ahead of myself. It's the government of national unity. By the time you see this, we may have one. Keir Starmer may have stepped in. It wouldn't be a bad idea. But he's got rid of a lot of old Corbynites.
Yes, notable departures include Richard Bergen, who last year gave us so many wonderful moments, like this one.
We want the Tories out as soon as possible. We want to sort out Brexit. We also want to sort out austerity, which has lasted for 9 years.
Polls say you won't win.
Pardon?
The polls say you won't win.
The polls said we wouldn't win last time.
You didn't.
But
Speaking about Bergen's departure, one MP told The Sun this week, "I just feel sorry for the village that's getting its idiot back." Now, who is back in the shadow cabinet?
Ed Miliband's back.
He is. The Sun in particular was delighted to see Ed Miliband return to frontline politics. What pun headline did they welcome his appointment with?
Miliband of brothers.
Milli Vanilli.
Yeah.
Vanilli.
Brilliant.
It was later discovered that Ed Miliband was miming to his own speeches.
They went with, "Look who's back, Bacon."
Ooh.
Strictly speaking, is that a pun?
It's not really a pun, is it? It's more a collection of words that don't really belong together.
And you have to remember a photograph of him eating bacon.
They did print that snap next to the headline. Here it is. Yeah. Unable to eat a bacon sandwich. The last time the Labour leader was in step with the Jewish community. This is the news that Keir Starmer has been made leader of the Labour Party. You must have noticed it. It was all over page 19 of the Mirror. One of Keir Starmer's first decisions as leader was to appoint Ed Miliband as the shadow business secretary. Ed is currently in isolation. Nothing to do with the virus, it's just his family still won't talk to him after he shafted his brother. Keir Starmer also appointed leadership rival Wigan MP Lisa Nandy to the role of Shadow Foreign Secretary. She'll now be in charge of dealing with parts of the world foreign to Labour, like the North.
Shall we have a quick Greedy Bastards update?
Yeah. Does it come with a signature tune? Greedy bastards, greedy bastards, greedy bastards update.
Vodafone? I mean, anyone, what have they done?
Oh, is this a tax avoiders round?
Well, of course,
Yes.
it's bound to be.
Vodafone, they haven't paid any tax?
Goldman Sachs.
Boo!
Disgraceful.
Someone challenged them, the revenue, because the revenue did a deal where basically Goldman Sachs didn't have to pay interest on what they owed to the taxman, let alone what they actually owe. And the courts decided in Goldman Sachs' favour, which is absolutely extraordinary.
And Amazon?
I know this one. Look at that. I'm quite nervous. It's my first show. My dad actually rang me and went, "Don't spoil this for us." What a start up the tent. I've just been sat here going, just don't. There's a discussion going on around me, and in my head, two kittens are fighting over a pork chop. Yeah, they've avoided it by... It goes through Luxembourg, is it? The head office. So everything's processed here, packaged and sent off. But because the sales are processed in Europe, they avoid paying the UK tax.
But the man from Google's got to go back to Parliament to explain why he didn't appear to be telling the truth. I'm not saying he wasn't. Just Google truth, see if anything comes up.
Before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
Say yes, you bitch.
She's saying, I've got a hole in my coat pocket.
I leave you with news that at a conference in Tangiers, David Cameron suddenly remembers that the president of Morocco also went to Eton.
In Oxfordshire, whilst taking an early morning shower, Bill Oddie forgets to close the bathroom curtains.
At a Labour Party coffee morning, Ed Miliband suddenly wonders if the good luck gift from his brother really is a fudge cake.
And from his office in Westminster, Peter Mandelson activates the remote electrical charge device one more time.
Oh, yes, this is the happy news of the mine has been released, although apparently viewers are getting rather fed up with the coverage because it's all rather similar. So the last 15 miners are going to be part of a lottery game where they're going to be holding up a number, and you, if you've got the number at home, it's your chance to win. What was that?
Somebody winning the lottery.
Oh, somebody winning the lottery.
Do you know what the sequence of events was for each rescued miner?
They got in a thing, and they took them out.
Yeah.
They got out of the thing.
Pretty much. According to the Times, the claustrophobic escape capsule takes 15 minutes to travel 700 metres. If you want to imagine what that's like, take a trip on the Northern Line. The 24-hour news channels have been enjoying this story, but there was just a hint that they might be running out of things to say. Let's have a look.
So far, the only miner to emerge from the tube with a beard.
For Kate, I don't know. I just saw her this week and I think that she's just looking thinner than I've ever seen her.
That's what journalists always say. Oh, she's so thin, isn't she?
No, I absolutely don't mean it like that.
Are we seeing the birth of a new mime artist here?
Don't be horrible to me again. You were horrible about me in private eye, and I rang you up. Yeah, it's okay. And I rang you up, and you just went, "Yeah, no, sorry."
Yes, this was the fairy tale royal wedding. The wedding was covered by the world's media, including the German newspaper Bild, which lamented, "Why don't we have royals like the Windsors?" David Beckham wore his OBE, but breached etiquette by wearing it on the wrong side. Although, to be fair, it was on the correct side when he checked in the mirror.
Why shouldn't the government be too worried about UKIP in a general election?
Because if they get the same percentage of the vote, which is 23% of the vote, they won't get any seats at all. So a quarter of the country can vote for you, and you get nothing. Which shows the system's working.
But the good news is
that you're still in.
Is that the BNP would get in if you went for a proportional representation system.
Right. So you're saying better to keep it as it is?
I'm just saying that the British public, I'm putting on my Conservative Party voice now, the British public know what parties to support that will be reasonable and moderate. And that's all I want to say at this time.
The thing that amazes me about MPs is they don't seem to have any idea how embarrassing they are in public. They have no idea. Basically, Ryan Giggs has spent an awful lot of money to ensure that he's become world famous for stuff other than football.
Yeah.
But people still might be sued for telling people that it was him. So.
Yeah, well, that's right. The MP, John Hemming, he said that apparently 75,000 people named Ryan Giggs on Twitter. It's not possible to arrest them all. Well, I mean, it's worth a go, though, isn't it? I mean, well, the thing is, the injunction is still in place.
That's right.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Despite the people keep going blabbing it out, there's a legal expert, Joshua Rosenberg.
Yeah.
This is what he had to say about it, right?
Well, the law is clear. There is still a court order in force which says that we can't name Ryan Giggs as the person who brought these proceedings.
Stop!
But at least we can say his name, though, because I was getting so fed up. Every newspaper, every day, it was like, Imogen Thomas has been having sexual liaisons with a man who cannot be named. It's like, what, Voldemort?
Yeah.
I sort of see why he did it as well, Ryan Giggs. Because you get the super injunction. He knows that if his identity was known, then people would know not only who he was, but also that his marriage was on the rocks. And at that point, John Terry would be round his house like a sex-crazed whippet.
Yes, the worst-kept secret in Britain is finally out. Lawyers are a complete waste of money. As the row unfolded, thousands of Twitter users named Ryan Giggs in what the Daily Mail called one of the biggest acts of civil disobedience in modern times. Top that, Syria, lightweights.
What's his name, came to see one of my shows in Edinburgh a couple of years ago. I remember my audience wouldn't deliberately mislead anybody. So I'm quite willing to believe everything he says.
So that's you and David Cameron.
Yes. If the Prime Minister thinks he's OK, that's good enough for me. I'm quite naive about these things.
Well, the Prime Minister's had a very good track record.
Yes.
I mean, Andy Coulson was OK.
Yes, he was all right, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Till he wasn't.
Until he wasn't.
Yeah. So what's your reading of the situation, Mr Hislop?
Do you know...
What?
I don't think the government come out very well out of this. It does appear that they were so far up Mr Murdoch's bottom, you couldn't see any of their heads. This is the Leveson inquiry, and it was a shocking day. Mr Hunt was the Culture Secretary. He was in charge of the bid for B-Sky B, and yet his office was giving information all the way through to the Murdochs.
I mean, why hasn't he gone? It's more
well, he's there as a firewall, isn't he? If he goes, then Mr Cameron is looking very shaky.
It's like that thing of when everybody gets annoyed with each other and they end up kicking the dog. I mean, James Hunt has dismissed his private advisor.
James Hunt? The former racing driver? Why am I asking this man? Why am I asking him? He's got no idea. He's mixed up Formula 1 racing drivers with the Culture Secretary. Mind you, if you're going to get his name wrong, it's better to get his first name wrong rather than his second one.
I think I was trying hard not to get his second name wrong. Since the 70s.
You're all right in the zone. This is the news that the Leveson inquiry has finally perked up at long last, and everyone is
finally perked up. There have been some notably excellent witness statements.
You turned up there, didn't you? You were in a very happy position of having nothing to hide.
Yeah, but I had no idea it was going to get this good. Murdoch today, selective amnesia, fabulous. You know, the medics must be having a field day. Can you remember anything about phone hacking? No. Can you remember how badly all the politicians have behaved? Yeah, I bloody well can.
When he said Margaret Thatcher did great hurt to the British people, although not as much as all those bombs, eh, Jerry? All right, Jerry, any time! Yeah. Straight between you, gizzard!
I thought we'd politically moved on from issuing threats to former members of the IRA.
Well, the BBC also interviewed Maggie's biggest fan and disciple, Tony Blair. Did you see his tribute? He said, very few leaders get to change the landscape of not just their own country, but of the world. I mean, well, he certainly changed the landscape of Baghdad. I'm sorry, Tony, I'm sorry about that, because he had a heart operation, you know, once he had aberration.
Well, he had one put in.
Did he have one put in? And now, Lord Howe of Aberavon was asked... I'm not going to say that again.
Yeah, go on.
I'm not, Aberavon...
It sounds like you're drowning in a bath.
was asked by Sky for his thoughts on his time in Thatcher's cabinet. And he said it was a long time ago. Well, yes, that's the idea when someone dies, Geoffrey. A bit of reminiscing about old stuff. Come on, shape up!
I think you're in safer ground attacking Geoffrey Howe than you were with Jerry Adams.
Did you hear about Julian Stiles? According to the Mirror, Julian, 58, was made redundant from his factory job in 1984. I've been waiting for that witch to die for 30 years, he said. Tonight is party time. I'm drinking one drink for every year I've been out of work. 30 years? Without a job? Pull your finger out, Julian, you lazy bastard! I'll kill you, you bastard!
Let's abandon this show. Brian says, who wants a fight? Line up in alphabetical order. Adams, you're first.
Paul, could you give me an hand here, mate?
Yeah.
You just read out the names when they come up. Don't get me wrong, I could do it myself. I just can't be arsed.
Right, okay.
Get on with this.
Yes.
So, the Greek president...
Karolos Papoulias.
Has been talking to the head of the Socialist Party.
Evangelos Venizelos.
The leader of the far-right Golden Dawn Party.
Chrissy Avgi.
And the young, charismatic leader of the far-left Syriza Party.
Alexis Tsipras.
More commonly known as...
Sexy Alexi.
But I'll be the judge of that. But, oh, yes, he's all right, actually.
Yeah.
You know, he looks a bit like Ed Miliband to me.
Oh, does...
Are you a man obsessed?
No, this is Ken's attempt to find some work.
Shall we see how well the President has been getting on in his talks with these people?
I think he's going to come to the conclusion they can't stay in the euro, which most sensible people have realised about the last 2 years.
And then they're out.
They're out, and the world will carry on, and we'll all be able to afford to go back for a holiday in Greece.
You've become very upbeat, haven't you?
Getting a nice sleep now, isn't you?
Yeah. Like a log.
It's good for you at your age, sleep. So, how are several newspapers referring to this possible Greek exit?
Are they taking Greece and out? Grout.
It's called Grexit.
That's it, yes.
Sounds like a type of hair dye.
Again, we bow to your superiors.
And they get the Olympic torch and then they set fire to Athens. And then we go bankrupt because everyone's exposed to Greece, to this debt. So even Ken can't be cheery about that, can you?
No, I predicted this.
12
years ago in Socialist Economic Bulletin.
Oh, my subscription must have lapsed.
Catchy name as well.
Once we sold 300.
Oh, yes. A move from the euro back to the drachma would have to be done on the quiet in the hope that nobody would notice. That should keep the situation nice and calm.
Time now for the odd one out round. One between you this week. Your four are SpongeBob SquarePants, Sally Burko, Walter Tell and Carmen Miranda.
Fruit.
Sally Burko fruitcake?
No, she was caught... I'm sure I saw this on Channel 4 News. This was big. She was at one of the conferences balancing some item of fruit on her head in a bar.
Yes, that's correct.
Walter Tell, son of William, balanced an apple on his head and had it shot off by his father. Carmen Miranda had a whole bowl of fruit on her head. Fantastic, and sang, "Yes, we have no bananas." SpongeBob SquarePants, he's quite a guy. Bob is the odd one out.
Yeah.
Is it because he's got a friend called Patrick?
And he's the odd one out because nobody else knows anybody called Patrick. Where does SpongeBob live?
He lives under the sea.
In a pineapple. Yes, but also under...
a pineapple.
No. Yes!
Yay!
Hello! Right. Is there an echo?
Did you say it?
Is there an echo?
Did you say under a pineapple first?
There was a little echo over that side. He did all... you know what? Let him have it. Proper chairman, and God love you, Hump, would have said by now, I'm going to award points to both sides.
But I can't say it now. How spineless would I look? Yes, SpongeBob SquarePants is the odd one out. How would you describe his voice, Ian?
Rough, manly.
Cutted Lord Helsham.
Well, Tom Kenny, the man behind the distinctive voice, describes it as a dolphin with a touch of seagull thrown in, which is also a starter at Heston Blumenthal's. Can you name any of Carmen Miranda's hits?
Yes.
We
I like you very much. Way down among Brazilians, coffee beans grow by the millions, and they got a lot of coffee there to sell. There's a full lot of coffee in Brazil. At last, the show's coming to life.
Carmen Miranda cracked America, but her English wasn't great. She told one magazine, "I say 20 words in English. I say money, 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 and I say hot dog." She went on to teach Nancy DeLolio how to speak English. Yes, they've all had fruit on their heads, apart from SpongeBob SquarePants, who lives under a pineapple in a fun town under the sea. Sort of like Blackpool will be once all the fracking starts.
But before we go, there's just time for the caption competition. Ian and Joe have this.
Contestants shake hand before fighting to the death.
You come far.
Why the long pause?
Would you send it up to Sweet 17? The goldfish has died.
Right, now here's one for Paul and Giles.
Yep. Oh, do you know, let's just sit back and enjoy this bit. I mean, come on. Let's actually turn the corner in this show in the last moments.
Yeah.
Let's actually just let the country celebrate spring.
Yeah.
Let's not ruin it with any protest. Just love it.
What about mouse celebrate spring by tickling bum with pollen?
On which note we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Joe Wilkinson.
Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication Reg Transfers, the magazine for the world of personal number plates. And we start with Simon Cowell reveals what?
Reveals his number plate.
You probably can't see Simon Cowell's number plate for all the cigarette smoke billowing around his pregnant girlfriend. Did you see? There were pictures of... Did you not see that?
People smoking?
There's a picture of him in a car, fagging away, pregnant girlfriend in the passenger seat.
Unbelievable. I thought he was evil before, but...
Simon Cowell reveals his baby name choice is Simon.
Oh.
The baby's due in February. Simon Cowell's already got a high chair, some tiny clothes and a booster seat. All he needs now is to get some stuff for the baby. Next, Cornelius Gurlitt has been hiding what?
Is it complete as it is? Just been hiding.
That's the Nazi art.
Masterpieces, yeah.
I will give you that. Cornelius Gurlitt has been hiding secret Nazi art stash.
Yeah.
All the paintings were confiscated in the early 1940s, or as art historians call it, Hitler's angry period. Next, in Essex, we all have what?
Automatic weapons. An intrinsic knowledge of our local area. Personalised number plates.
Personalised plates.
Yeah.
There we are, yes. In Essex, we all have personal plates. I wanted my initials on my car, but I didn't fancy splashing out in a personalised number plate, so I just bought a second-hand AA van. Brilliant. Next, police dogs will receive what?
I know this.
Go on, then.
Pensions. They're going to get pensions.
Pensions?
Absolutely right.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
I can't believe nobody said truncheon meat.
Now, they did. That response is the reason why nobody did.
Next, George W. Bush planning what?
A gallery, an exhibition.
Yeah.
He's going to open an exhibition.
Yeah, but that's almost there, yes. He's planning to paint a series of... He's planning to paint a... Oh, Lord.
George W. Bush
is planning to paint portrait series of world leaders.
God, we used to accuse him of not being able to read.
Yeah. According to the Telegraph, he is also known to dabble in landscapes, as the people of Iraq know only too well. And finally, David Suchet admits to what when playing Poirot?
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah. What is it?
Yes, he's got a penny up his arse, hasn't he? So it helps him mince the walk.
Oh, absolutely right, yep. David Suchet admits to clenching a penny between his buttocks when playing Poirot.
Which he learnt from Laurence Olivier.
Yeah.
Who I think had more than pennies up his arse at one stage.
Right down to the line, Godfrey.
Sorry. I know you won't ask me back.
So, the final...
Let's take a listen to the next history noise.
Next history noise.
Paul and Mark.
A zip?
It was a zip, yeah. Why is zip particularly historical this week?
Must be the 100th anniversary of the zip.
100th anniversary of the zip.
Yes, it's been 100 years to the day since a man first went, no, that's just making it worse. Yeah, I tell you what, if cats don't like being stroked, they should try that. The zip appears in the top 5 of the list of 100 greatest inventions of all time. Can you tell me what else might appear in that top 5?
There's a moth in the studio. Moths. A moth. Fire. Fire's got to be one of the top inventions, isn't it?
No. I think fire was a discovery more than an invention.
Oh. That moth is very, very excited. Someone's got something very old out the wardrobe. I think it's that gentleman's jumper.
It shows you how interesting this programme is. Everybody's focus is now on that moth. So, yeah, the fire. Yeah, fire. So fire's a discovery.
Let's take a look at the top 5. They are in order. The corkscrew, or bottle opener.
Yes.
The optical lens, the zip fastener, the cigarette lighter...
Fire! Portable fire, I should have said.
What about the moth zapper? Really do with one now.
I told you to wait in the van.
Next, Peter Adams analyses Reginald's what?
It's got to be bonsai, isn't it?
Oak.
Peter Adams analyses Reginald's tree and finds it isn't bonsai, it's just very far away.
No, it was bonsai. It was Peter Adams analyses Reginald's bonsai. Here's Peter Adams in bonsai focus. That's his actual size, obviously. Several celebrities own bonsai trees, such as Ronnie Corbett. He likes a bit of shade.
Does Tom Cruise have a bonsai as well?
Hey, don't slag Tom off, all right?
It was just a normal-sized tree.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone. He's suffered enough.
Did you go and see him because you're going to have a remake of Twins, the Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger film?
You should remake all of Arnie's films, actually.
You have been well and truly rumbled.
The Terminator.
Yeah.
I'll be back. I'm telling you that. I will be back. I'll bloody be back. I'll tell you that. I'll be back.
Big Commando facing all those people. Oh, watch it, lads. Someone's going to get hurt.
Is there any other impressions you do other than me?
I do Tony Blair, but then I sound like him anyway.
Offend someone in Tony Blair's voice.
You know... That's it. I'm offended.
Because on Buzzers teams. Here's the next one.
Two lookalikes got married. They were professional lookalikes, and he... I think I got this right way around.
He looks like Debbie Harry.
Debbie Harry, that's right. And she, bless her, looks like
somebody out of Thunderbirds.
Here are the happy couple.
Yeah.
Oh, it's uncanny.
Anyone know who else came to the wedding?
Robert Mugabe. Oh, I tell you, he was very good. That's right,
Jocelyn Como was there.
Bomber Harris.
Shall we look at their mates and who they're supposed to be?
As we thought.
Gordon Ramsay, Ricky Gervais, the couple, and David Beckham.
Not doing too bad, is
No,
what you
doing
like.
all right, yeah. Once you close your eyes, it's easier.
And worst of all, this is supposed to be Mr. T. Well, it's ridiculous because Dennis Thatcher was white, so...
Yeah. That was one of the things he was quite insistent on.
Also, Kate and Prince William turned up. Who didn't look like himself this week? Anyone see this picture?
Tom Jones.
Yeah. Is that real?
Yeah. Looks pretty good for a tomato of his age.
Yeah. Is he learning Mandarin by becoming an orange?
Bernie Ecclestone turning up for his case?
Yes, it was great. He was rather baffled by the concept of revolving doors. Here he goes.
There he is, and he goes...
Here he goes, like, no, so far, so good, you see. There we are, now. Now, just come walk out. No. No.
Richard, here's another for you.
Oh, yes, of course, it's the flag of the European Union. We know that. Yes, Nigel Farage, and he's on his way to a public ceremony. Gays are allowed to get married since Sunday. It's fantastic. Really good news, brilliant. And this couple here are amongst the first to actually, say the rights. They're now husband and husband. Fantastic news.
Oh, it's lovely.
It's a lovely story.
A lot of people think it won't last, but I'm all for it.
I think so. They've had a couple of arguments, a couple of them in public, but, they'll get together as a couple. They'll be absolutely fine.
I think it's the story about Nick Clegg and Nigel Farage having a TV debate.
And who do you think won?
I don't think either of them are truly winners, are they? I think you've got best loser.
According to Donald McIntyre in The Independent, journalists had been briefed that Nick Clegg was going to do something unusual during the debate. What was it?
He was going to show some passion.
Get emotional.
On a space hopper.
And did he get emotional?
He got a bit emotional.
He used his hands a lot, didn't he? Sort of, just to show emotion and stuff. He and he took his shirt off as well, I think, didn't he?
Yeah. As far as I understand it, yeah. They wrestled like men. I quite enjoyed the debate, and I think because of the way I watched it, because I didn't watch the pictures, I just had the audio. Then I turned the volume right down, and genuinely I enjoyed it.
Well, it's slightly odd. You're the Deputy Prime Minister, and you're taking on live television a man who hasn't got one MP. And he wins. This is supposed to be equal status.
Apparently, Clegg told Farage, "You're making things up to make a point," to which Farage replied, "You've done pretty well out of it." So to round two, the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Yes.
It's a new set of stamps.
Yes.
Is it Nigel Farage's nightmare?
This is the news that new computer software recognised 21 distinct facial expressions, when before it was thought we only had 6. Ohio State University have discovered that as well as common facial expressions, such as happy, sad, etc. I love etc. I can always do etc. There are compound emotions such as fearfully angry, which looks like this.
She's just come back from the hairdressers.
Right, what do you think this one is?
Is that, oh my God, where are my teeth?
You saw... No, this woman is sadly surprised.
Oh.
Right, now, Ian,
Yes.
I'd like you to demonstrate some of them for me. Here are 3 expressions.
This one's embarrassedly
wait.
apprehensive.
Here are 3 expressions you often use. So please show me disgusted. Angrily disgusted.
This is the Telegraph.
And then disgustedly surprised. And Paul.
Yeah, oh yes, yeah, go on in.
Yeah, I'd like you to go from happy to happily surprised. Wait, there's a third. To fearfully disgusted. Now, according to the Mail...
Who won on points?
I don't know.
Oh, I know.
You did a whole
I've got
black and
my
white
glasses
film
on,
at the
you're
end.
Silent.
According to the Mail, we reserve sadly angry for when someone we care about upsets us. Sadiq, would you show us your face whenever Ed Miliband opens his mouth? Oh, I'm sorry. It's gone too far now.
Ian and Roisin, take a look at this.
Someone being given the bill. Getting a bit of a shock. Oh, it's him. And him saying I didn't have the starter and didn't drink much.
It's David Cameron getting a massive bill when he went to Europe for not turning his data roaming off.
1.7 billion, it's a lot, isn't it? No, he got a shock, because although we know the Prime Minister's absolutely on top of all the detail, no one had told him that he was due to get a £1.7 billion bill, so he had a bit of a fit. And he said, I'm not going to pay it.
You're bang on. Of course, it is the 1.7 billion. It's landed on David Cameron's desk. Why exactly was it sent to us?
It came about because there's an annual recalibration, I think they call it, but they've done it over 11 years. And suddenly the EU says, can you give us 1.7 billion quid? And they were rather shocked.
It feels a little bit like the EU are doing that thing when you go out with someone and they want you to dump them. So they just start behaving really badly and asking for things that are going to annoy you. It's, you know, if you've ever been out with a boyfriend, they're sort of like, oh, I want a threesome and I want 1.7 billion by the 1st of December. So that's what it feels like.
Yeah, I know that so well.
What did he actually say, Cameron, about not paying?
He said, if anyone thinks I'm going to pay this now, he added the now, they've got another thing coming.
Yeah.
Because obviously he'll pay it later. And he got suspicious because Britain has to pay more, but funnily enough, Germany and France have to pay less. I wonder how that came up. And then they said it was because Britain's doing so well, but Greece also had to pay more. I'm not sure about this rationale.
And it's quite a short time span. You know, we should be able to pay off a little bit a month. You know, if you get a massive bill and they sort of go... It's their fault if they haven't charged us enough over 11 years.
Yes, it's Mrs. Merkel as Wonga.
It's GDP, isn't it? It's the thing, and one of the complaints is that they've been measuring our GDP in a way that includes drugs and prostitution.
Yeah.
Which is, if you think, that is a reasonable way of measuring how an economy is doing.
Yeah. Is it?
Because, well, it is, yeah. Because obviously, if there's more disposable income, then they'll spend more on drugs and prostitutes.
Well, for a lot of people, Andy, those are necessities.
Well... That's why Italy's GDP is so low, because once you factor out Berlusconi, there's...
Ian Whiteley had a pithy comment on the Jamaican drama. Not something I would watch, even if I did have a TV. And Martin Davis, who's actually from Cornwall, had a completely different gripe altogether. While watching the second episode of Jamaica Inn, which I believe is set in 1820, we saw a scene in the church where the congregation sang a verse from the hymn "The King of Love, My Shepherd Is." The tune being sung was Dominus Regit Me by J.B. Dykes, who was born in 1823. Oh, dear.
Surely it's Dominus Regit May.
Whatever. What else has Cornwall been in the news for lately?
It's gone independent.
Yes, a spokesman for the Cornish National Liberation Army said... And not forget how the Sun referred to the CNLA as the URA.
I have to say, Jeremy's English is very good. You can do it, honestly. Come on. Believe. You can read off a screen. Come on.
The interesting thing, we don't use these on Top Gear. We have to use our memory. It's amazing how easier that is. Much easier. The record speed on an Autobahn is 268 miles an hour. It was set by Chris Huhne on his holiday, although the Guinness Book of Record says it was his ex-wife.
Current state of parties on the poll is for the latest YouGov European election poll?
But 38% UKIP.
It's 31% UKIP, Labour 28 and Tories 19. Were you surprised by that, Bridget?
Yes, I thought it had gone up 7 points today.
You haven't been watching carefully enough.
Oh, has
have
it
you?
gone
You
back
need
down
to...
again?
Well, I check it more frequently than you.
Have you got a Google alert?
Yes, I have, yes.
That's despite... I mean, UKIP come in for constant bashing around the clock. No matter what you do, they get stronger. It's like... there's no point attacking them. It's like trying to piss in a lake to make it go away.
Berlusconi what in Old People's Home?
Runs brothel. He belongs in Old People's Home.
Berlusconi tasered in Old People's Home.
Told to work.
Told to work, yeah, it's community service.
Silvio Berlusconi has been sentenced to do a year's community service in an old person's home. The 77-year-old will learn to cope with a regime of bed baths, help with dressing and wiping up drool. And once he's been got ready, he'll do the same for the residents. Next, scientists discover why what?
DFS leather sofas are never full price.
Scientists discover why, but can't find how, when, or who.
It is why limoncello never tastes the same at home.
This is the guy who's in charge of North Korea. He's disappeared, hasn't he? As hard as that to believe, looking at that picture. But he has...
Why has he?
Well, they think that he's quite overweight and he may be in poor health. This was taken shortly before he perched himself at the end of the conveyor belt with his mouth open.
This is the news that Kim Jong-un is not well, bringing back memories of his father, Kim Jong-il.
It's cheese, though.
Yes, well done.
Cheese.
It's cheese.
Yes. Kim watchers have decided he's eating too much cheese.
Yes. Well, according to the Metro, Kim has...
Ah, well, they know.
They
There's nothing like a giveaway London Free newspaper to give you the lowdown on North Korea.
North Korean correspondent.
Anyone know what kind of cheese he's particularly addicted to?
Camembert.
No.
Camembert.
No, according to the Metro, yes.
Is it Korea Philly? Oh, dear, I'm terribly sorry.
Yeah. This could be a spin-off programme, you know. With a bit of luck.
He is, in fact, addicted to...
poison cheese.
An Emmental cheese. He has an Emmental cheese addiction. In a rare display of openness, what did North Korean TV show?
His digestive tract.
They released a documentary showing Kim limping around factories.
Blimey.
I just think he's got baby bells stuck in his shoe.
That's the police. Someone listening in. The police have been caught trying to find journalists' sources, which
everybody used to think what wasn't legal. But due to something called RIPA, which is not a sort of BBC One 9 o'clock thriller, it's the Regulation of Investigative Powers Act. The police can do this. They don't even have to ask a judge. They can just go straight in and say, I want the phone records of that journalist because I want to find out who his source is. It is quite serious. And it's, you know, you don't have to feel sorry for journalists, but if they can do it to journalists, they can do it to all of you.
You're absolutely right. They're not hacking into phones, but they are allowed to get, as you say, phone records of who's phoning who.
Very, very interesting. You remember this. Some years ago, I had to give evidence for the DTI in a case called the City Slickers case. And they asked me for my phone records, and I said, I don't keep them. They said, oh, well, what a shame. Anyway, they got them. The DTI just got them.
They got them anyway?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Do you remember that was the one where, when Piers Morgan was editor of the Mirror at the time, I think?
He was, yes.
Yeah. I gave evidence against the Mirror.
Did you do it in that voice?
To protect your identity, did you appear as a 7-year-old girl? Was that the thing? Behind the screen?
You're right. It all hinges on...
David Cameron, who gave an interview this week to...
He's given a lot.
He gave this one to Heat magazine.
Ah, the tough ones first.
Yes.
David Cameron's in Heat.
Yeah.
That's why that lamb looked so petrified.
Indeed, He began the interview by saying, wow, Heat must be where it's at. When I'm interviewed by the BBC, there's only one person. You've got a whole film crew.
But they make television programmes, do they, Heat?
Well,
it's a magazine, isn't it?
Yeah, but they make everything... There's not a magazine that doesn't have some online...
It's multi-platform.
Well, multi-platform, it's 360.
They do the lot. 360.
360 commissioning.
360 digital.
Yeah.
Private Eye, I think, has just hired a town crawler, haven't you?
Did you watch the debate last night?
Yes, I did. It was great. It was No. You caught me out mid-lie, mid-question. No, I didn't see it, no. Was it good?
So am I the only one who could bear to watch?
Yes.
Well, it was great.
What was your favourite bit, Ian?
The bit at the beginning when you realised Cameron hadn't turned up. That was very good. And then Clegg hadn't come either.
Yeah.
So it meant that everyone attacked Ed Miliband. He'd managed to get a platform where all the other people could say, you're useless. And he couldn't say it's the Tories' fault because they weren't there. So it was a slightly unbalanced debate.
But what do you think about David Dimbleby's frank confession at the end? I mean, did you guess?
Ill-advised.
Ill-advised, yeah. I agree,
Even though we didn't see all of the debate, let's have a look at the highlights.
There just seems to be a total lack of comprehension on this panel, and indeed amongst this audience, which is a remarkable audience even by the left-wing standards of the BBC. I mean, this lot's pretty left-wing.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second.
When you talk
Nigel,
about
let me
housing,
just say one thing.
Yeah.
This is an audience that has been carefully chosen, not
Very
by the
carefully.
BBC, not by the BBC, but by an independent polling organisation to represent the balance between all parties.
It's never a great idea.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
It's a very good tactic. Attack your audience.
Was it a wise move to pick a fight with David Dimbleby?
And the BBC audience. He's been a bit rattled, hasn't he? 12 months ago, he was seen as this sort of man that was going to remake English politics and all this sort of stuff, and now he's just some bloke moaning that everybody's against him.
Who would you rather have a fight with, John? David Dimbleby or Jeremy Paxman?
Glass jaw, Dimbleby.
No, I think that...
He goes straight down. Paxman, he'd be like a bulldog. You'd have to shoot him in the end. He'd keep coming. And another thing, Prime Minister.
Who cooperated with the FIFA inquiry?
The English.
Yes, no one except the English and the Australians, and definitely not the Russians or the Qataris.
We never get it, do we? We're conducting... Oh, yes, we'll help. You're guilty.
But why... I mean, why would anyone believe the Russians could be corrupt? But why didn't they cooperate with the FIFA inquiry?
Because they destroyed all their records by accident.
Yes.
As you do when someone says, I'm conducting an investigation.
It was simply that the Russians were unable to provide more than a few documents from the bidding process because the computers they used during their bid had been leased, they were returned and subsequently destroyed by their original.
We must bid for the World Cup. First, we must rent some computers.
Qatari Mohammed bin Hammam undoubtedly paid money to a delegate from Tahiti specifically to vote for the Qatari bid, but why have FIFA dismissed this as irrelevant?
But they said he wasn't acting on behalf of the Qataris. Despite being Qatari and described by the Qataris as their greatest asset in our bid for the World Cup, he was not acting for them. Thank goodness FIFA sorted that one out.
Right. But in this instance, they know he paid money to a delegate to vote for the Qatari bid, so that it's definitely to do with the Qatari bid, but they dismissed it as irrelevant because they said this was only one vote out of the 13 required and therefore could not have been significant. If the ballot papers of 1/13 of the British electorate were forged, that wouldn't be relevant because it couldn't affect the result.
No.
I mean, it's not funny, but these people are arseholes. What, according to the FIFA report, did the English bidding team do that was so worthy of condemnation?
They organised a gala dinner for Warner and generally sucked up to him.
It's almost sweet, our pathetic attempts to bribe them. We sponsored a dinner for Caribbean football to the tune of £30,000 and found a part-time job for a friend of Jack Warner. That's the Jack Warner that the Qataris paid over $1 million to. I think they got a signed copy of your book as well. Did you see the exchange of emails between some of bin Hammam's staff as the allegations of corruption first surfaced?
No.
Well, they appeared in the Sunday Times. It starts, I need you to start shredding his correspondence. So soon? Yes, start from now. There are 3 years of filing to be shredded. Just do it discreetly, OK? What about the request from the Russians to shred?
Fingers on bosses, teams.
Oh.
Is this Richard III?
Yeah.
They dug him up and now they're burying him again.
Yeah. They found him under a car park, didn't they?
Under the letter R.
It's an incredible story. Philippa Langley had an odd feeling that Richard III might be buried in a car park in Leicester. A year later, she went back to the site and the feeling returned, although this time someone had hand-painted the letter R over the parking bay.
Amazing. For years and years, she was going, sure he's down there. There's an R. Why else would it be there? And they were like, restricted parking. She's like, no, it's too easy. People have had so much fun looking for him. Why don't they hide him again?
Yeah.
And in 100 years' time, they'll be, hang on, I was in Lidl, I saw this R on the floor.
It doesn't seem to be a recent story. They found his remains and they're going to bury him somewhere.
Oh, the story is that they think that it shouldn't be done with pomp and ceremony.
Should he have a state funeral? No. It's either him or Blair.
Chuck them in together. Why wait till he dies?
He's going to get 3 days lying in state, first of all. Jimmy Savile actually had 3 days lying in state. Just saying. I think they're wise to have let a little bit of time pass this time.
Do you think there are any shows on the BBC at Christmas about Richard III? His great career.
He'll be transported by a horse-drawn hearse which will visit churches and landmarks from the King's final days on a journey before his reinterment at Leicester Cathedral. So what's ironic about the ceremonial route which Richard...
It's ironic
he's got a horse. That was his last request, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And now they've given him one now, the poor devil's dead. It's a shame, isn't it?
Too late.
Yeah.
Do you know who's conducting the service?
Is it St Augustine? They're going to dig him up, especially. Bring him over.
That'd be brilliant. No. Everyone invited is dead. They've gone to the top, the very top.
Archbishop of Canterbury?
Yes, Justin
Really?
Welby.
Oh, Archie? Really? Wow.
He's conducting the service. Why does this cortege and lying in state worry some people?
He's dead. Why are they taking him places? I don't understand, man. Wave, look, remember,
Well,
Richard? Do you remember the battle? What's happening?
Of course, this bypass wasn't here then, but that was built in 1957. Taking the Euro Disney, you haven't seen any of that. You'd have to tell him who Mickey Mouse was, but he'd get into it, wouldn't he? And that's Goofy. He reminds me of the Duke of Norfolk. Yeah, just carry on. The other people are complaining about the smell. Just get on the ride.
They're worried that people...
You have to be 600 years old to get on this ride.
People are going to boo. Is that what they think? That people are going to boo their procession and be anti it?
According to Mary Mackenzie, a spokesman for the For Richard Society, already someone has placed a red rose on his statue at Leicester Cathedral.
What a bastard.
Yeah. He wants to think himself, look, he's not alive now, he'd be on £2 a week.
That's a lot of money to him.
Yeah, well, yeah. This is the reburial of Richard III. The funeral cortege will pass through Bosworth Field. Bit tactless. It's like giving Diana's coffin another spin round Paris. Richard III died in 1485. Historians point out that it's the most delayed funeral ever for a British monarch. Prince Charles doesn't agree.
Next, Basil Brush brought out of semi-retirement for what?
Mating. Boxing Day hunt.
Sneaking out the back of the bush going, boom, boom. The big puppet off with spoon. Who is it? Sue, the other one.
Yeah.
Sue, Sooty and...
Yeah.
Sweep.
Sooty,
Sweep, Sue, all of them.
Yeah.
It's for Prince William's 5th birthday. This is from an article in The Puppet Master about the history of Basil Brush. Basil Brush has since fallen on hard times. I saw him only the other day, going through my bins.
So where did David Cameron decide to start pumping himself up? Where did this happen? Yes. I mean, geographically, where?
Was it in the Ghoul area?
He was visiting the Institute of Chartered Accountants.
Oh, yes, I see.
Oh, that's a really pumped-up kind of place.
Exactly right. Yeah, do you want to have a little look at this?
Yeah. And if I'm getting lively about it, it's because I feel bloody lively about it. And if you think I'm going to roll over in the next 10 days and let Ed Miliband and Alex Salmond rack that, you've got another thing coming. Taking a risk, having a punt, having a go. That pumps me up.
I think that passes for hysteria amongst the accountants.
Yeah. As well as being bloody lively and
Yes.
pumped up, what else is David Cameron going to do?
He's not going to put up taxes.
He's not going to put up taxes.
It's more than
but
that,
how
though.
is he going to ensure
He's
that
going
he
to
does?
pass
By an
a
act
law
of Parliament.
to stop people like himself putting up taxes. It's the most pathetic gesture I've ever seen. Saying, look, I can't be trusted not to just whack up income tax as soon as I get in, so I'm going to pass a law to stop me. Income tax, VAT and national
insurance, yeah.
You know, in any government that comes in, historically, the first thing they do is they put up taxes, because they have to. And it's the only year you can do it where you're not worried about the election. So taxes will go up. He'll have to find some other ones. Or break the law and be arrested. Or maybe he knows he's not getting in anyway. Oh, the Kent police.
George Osborne was very good on this in 2009 when because Brown was talking about passing legislation.
Yeah, Gordon Brown outlawed child poverty.
Yeah.
Gone. Thank God for that. Don't have to worry about that anymore. It's against the law. No, it's finished.
The low point of the media coverage this week, I think, was the analysis of Samantha Cameron's feet. In various newspapers where there was a shot of her with her shoes off, and there were big close-ups, and all the experts were coming in to describe...
There's thought there was a slight yellowing of the toenails.
Definitely a yellowing, and
could have been
how
caused...
high heels were damaging her feet.
Was it in the Daily Mail? Was it saying Labour poisons Sam's feet?
Which football team does David Cameron support?
Aston Villa.
Well, he doesn't really know, does he? And he claimed to be an Aston Villa supporter, but then he said this in a speech.
Where you can support Man United, the Windies and Team GB all at the same time. Of course, I'd rather you supported West Ham.
He seemed to realise he'd said the wrong thing.
How did he explain his mistake?
I don't support West Ham or Aston Villa. I'm no interested in football. We played rugger where I come from. But a lot of people watch football, so I pretended to have an interest in it in order to gain their votes.
Paisley pyjamas, rather small pattern. That's a middle-aged man. He's just enlarging it. Oh, dear. That's one of your lot.
Did you remember him?
Yes, he was Minister for Civil Society. And he was being very polite in his way.
This story is about a sting, isn't it? This is about a national newspaper, shall we call them the Mirror for the sake of argument, setting up a bloke to look like a woman and really just sort of enticing a Conservative MP to do something that some people might say was unusual.
Yeah. Would you say it was unusual?
Well, I think it's... I have to say, in all fairness, to wear Paisley pyjamas is completely unusual.
How did the Mirror justify the publication of this story?
They said it was really funny.
Sorry, go on.
No, in fact, they said Brooks Newmark was a legitimate target as he was the Minister for Civil Society and the founder of Women to Win, a campaign to get more females into politics.
It would only be hypocrisy if he was the Minister for Genital Concealment. Then there is I think there is a public interest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Sunday Mirror's editor vigorously defended the paper's actions, saying subterfuge was used in this investigation and we have been very clear about that from the start. So, presumably, the correspondence began, "Hello, I'm a male tabloid journalist, posing as a 21-year-old blonde woman. Would you mind sending me a photo of your penis, please?"
A report by think tank, the Institute of Economic Affairs, cast doubt on the rail link's ability to improve the North. The report was called High-Speed Rail and the Regeneration Myth.
Yes.
By J.K. Rowling.
There's too much transportation, really. I'm against any new train tracks or anything because it's never worth going anywhere. In my experience, if you think about it, have you ever been anywhere that it was worth going?
There was a letter in the paper today said that we shouldn't bother with trains because they're going to be driverless cars.
Yes.
By the time it's finished in 2026, you'll just get in your car, say Birmingham, and it'll take you there.
Can you get in this car and say other towns as well?
The lead only stretches as far as Birmingham.
How does it actually work?
It's very complicated. Well, you want to know exactly how it works?
But what it is, cars will talk to each other. So if you are on a motorway and you come off and there's a pile-up round the corner, your car will be told there's a pile-up by the other cars that are in that pile-up. How they got the pile-up in the first place, I've no idea.
They're not New Labour anymore. No. I hadn't noticed that. They're going to rebrand.
Yeah, Labour.
Labour Classic.
They couldn't call themselves New Labour when Blair left. It's like when Mike Nolan left Bucks Fizz. They couldn't call themselves Bucks Fizz anymore.
Labour could go with Bucks Fizz. Champagne socialists, but slightly diluted with orange juice. And the Lib Dems, what are they?
I think they're going to sit this election out.
Yeah.
That's probably...
They've got a note from their mother.
I think they'll play the sympathy vote to a certain extent. Just have Nick Clegg topless holding a puppy, just looking into the camera like that.
According to the Sunday Times, what has David Cameron decided to do?
Resign.
No.
Go on holiday.
No, this is about the TV debates.
He's going to debate with Nigel Farage. He's going for the toughest one first.
That's right. Cameron is going to take on Farage. According to the Sunday Times, Cameron wants the TV debates to be in a 2-3-5 formation. So that's Cameron Miliband, Clegg Miliband Cameron, and Farage Cameron Clegg Miliband with Yaya Toure behind the strikers. Thank you for laughing. I don't know what that meant. In other mistake news, why have Google been suffering from rogue anuses?
Oh, yes. This is... there's a...
Yes.
Yeah. There's a computer program which misreads old print, so arms comes out as anus, so farewell to anus. I drape my anus across her shoulder in a comforting manner. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. They sound as if I'm making it up, but I'm not, am I, David?
You're not making it up. No. The scanning technology they use to turn books into e-books can't differentiate between arms and anus in certain typefaces.
Yeah.
Here's a quote from John Mackay Wilson's Tales of the Borders. Poor Janet shuddered at the words which she heard him utter, for with strange and wicked oaths he vowed vengeance on the individual who'd persecuted him, and she flung her anus around his neck and kissed his forehead. From Georgina Bragg's Matisse on the Loose, she grabbed my anus and positioned my body in the direction of the East Gallery, and we started walking. And in the complete works of Washington Irving, there is a reference to the great captain, who had been one of his comrades in anus. Are there any other words that Google Books scanning technology is confused?
Yeah, I can't do tax.
Yes, it reads tax as free. No, it's burn and bum get muddled up as well, as in a patent for a carrier for an integrated circuit that talks of bum-in electrical contacts.
God, Scotland, what happens? It's bums night.
Where they all join anuses and sing Old Lang Syne.
Good evening. Welcome to Have I Got News for You? I'm Martin Clunes. In the news this week, as the BBC introduces a Bring Your Pet to Work Day, one employee makes regular checks on Sammy the hamster. The head of BBC Drama brings in a new voice coach for the cast of Jamaica Inn. And as Richard Branson prepares to start his Virgin Galactic service, rival engineers at Ryanair attempt to launch their first customer into space. Any other Scotsman had a bad week this week?
Well, David Moyes hasn't had a good week.
That's the answer to the question.
Oh, well done.
Have a point. Somebody's going to step in as a sort of caretaker, do you know?
Ryan Giggs.
Ryan Giggs.
Even I know that.
Yes.
Are you allowed to say his name in public?
Oh, yes.
Rather you than me.
Andy Gibbons tweeted, Ryan Giggs' first role as Man United manager will be to check the fitness of all the players' wives and girlfriends. Who's not interested in that job? Do you know?
Oh, is it Sir Bruce?
It's Jurgen Klopp.
Oh.
He's ruled himself out, but he's asked if his brother Clipperty could be considered.
This is the most powerful number, 7. Is that right? They did a survey. I must have read this somewhere.
They have. They've done a survey, and 7 is the world's favourite number.
Ah, favourite number.
Yes. Alex Bellos asked 44,000 people to submit their favourite number, and 7 proved the most popular. He describes it as the loner, the outsider, the Nigel Farage of the number 1. Shall we go through the top 10 world's favourite numbers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's at number 1? Number 10, sorry.
So, number 10, what do you think?
Number 9's number 10.
No.
Number 8's number 10.
No.
Number 10's number 10.
No.
Number one.
No.
2.
No, all numbers are available.
Oh, 128.
No, at number 10, the 10th most popular number is, in fact, 11. At 9...
It's 10.
No.
40.
No.
21.
No.
100.
At number 9 is the number 2.
2.
The most popular number in 8th position is 6. At 7, the 7th most popular number is 9, and the 6th most popular number is 13. OK, here's the top 5.
This is going to be on Channel 4 for a whole evening. There'll be some talking heads in a minute. What do you think of 6? Yeah, love it.
I've always liked 5 because it's a working class number. That's what I like about 5.
Well, I think that 3, for me, I mean, when I was first growing up, I thought 3 was a magnificent... Oh, sorry. I've started auditioning. Sorry. Where am I?
But let's firstly complete the top 5.
Yeah,
At number 5 is 5.
Yeah,
And
brilliant.
number 4 is 4.
Yes.
And number 3 is 8.
Oh.
At number 2...
1.
Is 3.
3.
The magic number, and of course 7 is the top one at number 1. But the study did ask people to describe the numbers between 1 and 10. 2 was thought to be cautious, wise, fragile and sympathetic. How do you think 3 was described?
Nostalgic, sexy, unreliable.
3 is pretentious.
Oh, God.
4, according to the people who responded to the survey, is laid back and a rogue. Yeah, this is absolute bollocks, isn't it?
Nigel Farage. Oh, it's Maria Miller. She's gone, going into a house, not hers.
Oh, she's changed her outfit.
Oh, there's another house. That's probably hers. Oh, and it's a duck house. That's where she put her parents to live. No, he doesn't think that's funny either.
She's resigned.
She's resigned. She's gone. She said it was because she'd brought in gay marriage and the evil press were out to get her. But, you know, that's unfair, because, yeah, we were. But she did actually threaten the Telegraph when they brought it up. One of her assistants said, my boss is in charge of Leveson and press behaviour. The reason she went is the public are furious. They've had enough of MPs claiming expenses, and it's very damaging for everyone, isn't it, Nigel?
Nigel, what do you think about her resigning?
On the basis she doesn't even know where she lives, I wouldn't have thought she's fit to be in the cabinet, would you? So I'd say good riddance, frankly. I think it's absolutely disgusting, all these elected politicians using all these expenses to better themselves. It's disgraceful, isn't it, Ian?
It is absolutely disgraceful, Mr Kettle.
So why was Cameron so reluctant to get rid of her?
He didn't want to look weak. He didn't want to lose one of the women in his cabinet. And he doesn't like being told what to do. And he's indecisive. And he's hopeless.
It's not like the real world, is it? She's sort of lost her job, but she's just gone to the back benches. So it's not like... It's like school. She had to stand up and say, sorry for my attitude, and then got told to sit at the back of the class.
She was a woman who went to a comprehensive, so he's done pretty well to communicate with her. Up till now, let's face it.
And in her resignation, she apologised. She said she was leaving because she'd become a distraction.
Yes.
Which is quite... Cats in tights on the internet are a distraction.
The press kept commissioning opinion polls, all which said she should quit. This is something David Cameron had actually told his MPs to think about when the expenses scandal broke in 2009. Subject yourself to the Daily Mail test. How would this look on the front page of the Daily Mail? Well, Dave, it looks a bit like this.
Time for the odd one out round. Paul and Bernard, Antigone, Samuel Pepys, Bernard Cribbins, and some Franciscan monks in Leicester.
Antigone, I don't know anything about it.
I did the play once.
Something to do with your career, Bernard.
Storytelling?
Storytelling.
No. Well, we'll keep going.
We know it. It's to do with holes and burying.
Ah.
Because hole in the ground.
Bernard did a song called Hole in the Ground.
Hole in the ground, yeah.
How did it go?
There I was, digging this hole, hole in the ground, so big as all around it was, and there was I. It was Noel Coward's favourite when he did Desert Island Discs. And he said, if you could only have one record, Mr. Coward, which would you take? He said, I'd take Mr. Cribbins doing Hole in the Ground. Why? I could translate it into French as I walked up and down the beach.
True.
It's about burying, because Antigone was trying to bury her brother. And her uncle wouldn't let her.
The Leicester must be the Richard III burial.
They want to bury him, or they did bury him.
Or they buried him in a car park.
What we're looking for is an odd one out.
So they've all buried things.
Yeah. They all put stuff in a hole in the ground, apart from Bernard, who just sang about it.
I actually put a man in there.
Oh, OK, so
yes,
Samuel
now,
Pepys.
there's the
It's
clue.
Pepys.
Because it wasn't a man, it was cheese.
Yes.
Damn.
They all buried someone apart from Samuel Pepys, who buried his cheese, and that's not a euphemism.
His cheese.
Well done.
And Right Said Fred...
Right Said Fred, that finished with somebody getting squashed as well.
Did you have any hits not involving fatalities?
No, there were a couple of hymns, but nothing.
In Greek mythology, Antigone buried her dead brother. And how's the story end, Ian?
Badly. It's a Greek tragedy, everyone dies.
Yeah. So Antigone was sentenced to death to be buried alive.
Yeah, not good.
So she hung herself.
Yeah, and then Bernard did a really funny song about it.
Stop hanging about, Antigone. You're making a mess on the floor.
We've just cleaned up last Saturday. We don't want to do it no more.
Only given.
Yes, they've all buried someone, apart from Samuel Pepys, who buried his cheese to save it from the Great Fire of London. The monks who buried Richard III wore grey garments and were hence known as the Grey Friars, just as those who wore black garments were known as the Black Friars, and the profound thinkers who ate a lot, the Deep Fat Friars. And so, to round two, the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers, please, teams.
Yeah.
Yes, this is monkeys stealing things.
Baboons. They actually managed to open the window and get in and wreck the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereabouts is this?
In
Wigan.
Surbiton.
And, if the picture went lower down, we could see what they were actually stealing. I can't remember what it was now, but it was like a television or a blanket or something like that.
Let's have a look. There's other pictures.
A sofa or something.
It's a teddy.
Yeah,
The kidnapped Pudsey. Children in need won't happen next year.
And they got some linen. And some more linen.
Look at that one, just stuck on the wall.
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
Left there, isn't he?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Can I have one for Christmas, please?
What, a thieving baboon?
Yes.
Yes. Think of all the presents you'd get.
Yeah.
To go on my proud
They're very scary. When I went to Cape Town, a big one got in our car, so we jumped out, and we couldn't get back in the car. Just sitting in the driver's seat, messing around for ages.
How did it get in the car in the first place?
I left the door open.
And further animal news.
Yes.
What heinous crime did another animal commit a bit closer to home?
Heinous crime.
With an H.
Yeah.
Yes, heinous.
Was it?
Yes.
Right, I'll tell you. When John and Steve Rolls were caught without a tax disc, they were given a £100 fine, which was waived when they told the police that a snail ate it. Oh. And sent this picture in.
So good.
Yes, yes.
This is the news that a gang of baboons have been photographed burgling an apartment block in Cape Town. Of course, the good thing about baboon burglars is they may shit on your carpet, but at least they throw it out of the window afterwards.
It's now time for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week. Ming the mollusk, Glenn Greenwald's phone, Bert Quack, and the E. coli 0157.
Well, I think it's called Ming the mollusk because it's 500 years old and dates back to the Ming dynasty. And scientists found it, didn't know how old it was, killed it.
Killed it.
And then discovered it was the oldest animal that they think has ever lived.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you can get ill from eating those.
Yeah.
E. coli can make you ill.
Absolutely. Bert Kwok, is it the actor or is it the part he's playing there in the Pink Panther films as Cato? It's the actor.
It's the part.
It's
He's
the
playing
part.
Cato.
Give us a clue.
Yeah.
Containing the answer. Oh, cold. Cold.
Oh, right, OK. Yes, Cato was hidden in a fridge.
Yes.
He was hiding in a fridge in one of the films, Shot in the Dark, I think, and he comes, bang. So it's about people being put in fridges. The mollusk should have been put in a fridge and it would have survived. Cato jumped out of a fridge, he was all right. The E. coli bacteria is all right if you freeze it, and it's the bloke with the phone.
His phone was
the
hidden
fridge
in a
thing was right. Everything else was wrong, but
Yeah,
I'm still going to give you a point because I feel like we should move on.
No, but the other one out, it was Glenn Greenwald's phone.
No, it wasn't. Stop taking over. You can do that on your radio show, which is on at 3:30.
You've got a radio show?
Yeah, Mondays 2
I'm going to write that down.
The odd one out is Ming the mollusk.
Ming the mollusk.
All the others have survived a stint in the freezer, except for Ming the mollusk, who died. Glenn Greenwald, the former Guardian journalist who was involved in the publication of the intelligence emails leaked by Edward Snowden, regularly used to put his phone in the freezer. Why would he do that?
He was worried it would be bugged.
Or security, yes. There's an even more effective place you can put your phone to stop anyone hacking it. Any ideas?
Is that News International HQ?
A martini shaker.
Oh, OK.
E. coli 0157, one of the nastiest strains of E. coli, can survive in the fridge or the freezer. How old were you when you first got colonised by an E. coli bacterium, Janet?
Funnily enough, I had amoebic dysentery when I was 7. And I was actually in hospital.
How on earth did you get that? I thought that was...
I got it in Fulham. I grew up quite near you, Paul.
Yes.
I think it's something you sent from Fulham Palace Road to my road.
I used to send out those parcels all the time.
Ming the mollusk was an ocean quahog, a type of clam. How easy is it to date a clam?
Well, you have to get them drunk first.
There's an app called Chowder.
You need to watch out for chlamydia, though. It's quite... No, I've never dated a clam before.
No.
Pulled a few muscles. But if nothing else, this story brought out a certain solidarity amongst headline writers. What do you think The Independent, The Mirror and The Mail all went with for their headline?
Clam dead after 500 years. No, that wouldn't be very good, would it? Shuts.
Clam shuts. Clam shell, clam shut, clam...
Tears, cry.
Yes. Clam claps mime artist. No.
Are you taking the piss? You know what it is now.
No. You do. This is what stupid people look like.
I've never seen anyone worse at charades than you.
No. That is a very good clam mime.
We got the clam bit.
Oh, sorry. The sad bit, the sorrow. What would happen? Oh, damn, it's such a...
A shame.
Crocodile.
What a shame! Calamity! Ian!
No, that's terrible.
No, Ian! What is it terrible? It's a calamity! I'm not mad, am I? You all got that.
What were the tears for? How would that lead us to calamity as a pun?
That was useless.
Right, you're going. You can be the panellist now. Come on.
Festive season is upon us, and all the party leaders have personal Christmas cards, and they were in the papers this week. Let's have a look at them. This is Ed Miliband's card.
Oh, Lord.
No, it isn't.
Oh, dear.
That's the Bowden catalogue. I ordered that jumper. It's rubbish.
It's sad, though, when parents wish their children were 2 inches taller than they actually are. It's sad, isn't it?
Here's David Cameron's card.
Oh, stop it.
Just screams Christmas, doesn't it?
But it's black and white to show which era we're heading back to.
This is the card sent out by Nick and Miriam Clegg. Apparently, Miriam loaded a digital version of the photo onto an iPad and told the 3 boys to do whatever they liked. And when she'd erased that, she drew a Santa hat on his head. Finally, nothing says Christmas like the personalised card of a washed-up ex-UKIP MEP. So let's have a look at Godfrey Bloom's Christmas card. But do you know who came up with the idea for the card?
Was it Santa?
Mrs. Bloom.
Oh.
He told the Daily Star, she said, why don't we stick 2 fingers up at the bastards?
It is Christmas.
It's time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication, Ratitude. The magazine of the North of England Rat Society. For northerners who don't find pigeons dirty enough. And we start with, Putin is what, says author?
Great bloke and I want to live.
Yeah.
Is it gay?
The answer is latently gay, says author. A new biography of Vladimir Putin speculates that he might be latently gay. The biographer is not the first to make this claim. The idea that President Putin is latently has been put forward by a number of recently deceased psychologists. Next, chimps take what?
Is it the fucking piss?
The answer is chimps take their owners to court.
No, they don't.
This is the story of a court case in New York in which 4 chimpanzees are seeking to be recognised as humans. The complexities of the chimpanzees' case have left legal experts scratching their heads, rubbing their asses on ropes and eating things from behind each other's ears. Next, from a rat PR point of view, what was very negative?
The bubonic plague.
No, it's the name Red-Eyed Devil. Next, Chinese girl had what in her ear?
British Prime Minister talking patronisingly. Got a flower in her head.
It was a fully grown dandelion. A doctor tried to remove it by blowing, but all that happened was he found out it was 3 o'clock. Next, what was high at Thirsk Rat Show?
Sexual tension.
The body count. It was an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah. The safety officer. Looks all right to me. Just duck the rats on it. Good stuff.
The overall standard of ears was... Next, clown epidemic what?
Relatively easy to spot.
Clown epidemic in Norfolk, warned police. Police in Norfolk have warned of an epidemic of people dressed as clowns. Clowns are actually fairly easy to capture because they tend to have extremely unreliable getaway cars. Finally, what can add an element of aggression into the relationship which can backfire?
Drunken fighting amongst priests. You bastard! You can't have a wedding.
It's shouting at a rat. What? The last time I had a rat backfire was when I stuck a firework up it. I'm just joking, obviously. It was a kitten.
Throwing their weight around in Toronto.
This is Rob Ford.
Rob Ford, the mayor.
Ford.
Yeah. He's a bit out of control, isn't he? They can't do
Yes.
anything about it. They can't get rid of him. And he sort of basically said, yeah, I did crack cocaine, but I was completely pissed at the time. That's kind of been his defence.
Haven't they got rid of him by now, though?
No, he's still staying. Captain Rob Ford, Mayor of Toronto.
They can't get rid of him.
I mean, people these days do resign at the drop of a hat. It's hard not to slightly admire the guy when he's this bang to rights. He's been caught on video smoking crack cocaine.
Yeah. So you think
So
Paul
don't worry,
Farage
Rob
should
Ford.
stay
Richard
on?
Bacon is throwing his weight behind you, so
Yeah.
you're going to be all right.
So let me tell you the best fact of the week. This is the best fact of the week. When he admitted that he'd smoked crack cocaine, his approval ratings went up.
Boris, if you're watching.
Yeah.
But how low were they when they... It might be just the crack dealers going, yeah.
Have you got the footage of when he ran around the Parliament?
Oh,
and
I have.
This is like a bowling ball.
This is
it.
him running around the City Hall debating chamber and knocking over a pensioner. Buffet's open.
On the subject of air travel, what did we learn this week about women pilots?
Oh, God. I don't know, I'm just dreading where this is going.
No, no.
They're better.
Well, a survey found that 51% of passengers wouldn't trust a woman pilot. The survey was commissioned by a travel agent who surveyed 49 normal people, then repeatedly asked Godfrey until they got to... I know, I'm doing you a terrible disservice. I feel sure you are far more enlightened than that.
I know you've said that women aren't very good drivers, but they're much better than men at finding the mustard in the pantry. And I wondered, was that a euphemism? Like, have you often found yourself, you know, with women and you feel like you've been rummaging for ages in the pantry and... You know, she's screaming, you just can't find the mustard. Is that where that came from?
I tell you, are we talking French or English?
Ian and Max,
Yes.
here's another for you.
Oh, good.
It's a train. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a proper train. That's the two heads. That's better than one. But not in this case.
It's about investment and infrastructure, yes. Well, you know, they're building this enormous boondoggle up north. Yeah, and then they're...
Is that a technical term?
Yes, boondoggle. It's economics is called big frickin' waste of money. And, you know, if you really want to connect the country and get the economy going, give everyone free access to broadband.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer to take the train.
You can't get to Birmingham fast enough.
You can in your virtual self.
Impossible.
Yeah, so this is the wise investment / catastrophic waste of billions of taxpayers' money.
Because the Labour Party have decided now, it was their idea originally to do it, but now that the Tories want to do it, they don't want to do it anymore.
And did you hear the actual words of the dire warning from the government about the consequences if Labour do not? And
no, I'd like to hear you say it.
The precise words were years and years of gridlock, weekend cancellations, hellish journeys and replacement bus services. It's just hard to imagine what that would be like, isn't it? Do you know this week's figure of how much it's going to cost?
I think it's 130 zillion.
The government's current budget is 50 billion, although one independent study says it's going to cost 80 billion.
But you've got Mark Carney now as the Bank of England. He can just print it. Just print 80 billion. Just print it. That's fine. That's what he does. That's what he's there for. Print more money. Doesn't matter if it's 100 billion, 200 billion. Just print.
No downside to that?
Well, unless you include inflation. As long as you don't mind paying extra for energy and food, it's okay. Just keep printing money.
OK, let's have the train.
Bail out the banksters. Bail out. Just print money, it's fine. You put the money in the train and take it to Birmingham.
Listen, Max, 1 hour, 20 minutes to Birmingham. It's too long. I want like an hour. Too long. I got stuff to do in Birmingham.
Very busy. Very busy man.
I got concrete to pour.
Yeah. Doesn't pour itself, you know.
It doesn't.
Doesn't pour itself.
I don't care how many billions it costs. That shaves 20 minutes off of me getting to Birmingham and pouring concrete.
And he said he didn't say it, and then the policeman came out and said he won't answer the question. But he had a tape going in which he said, I admit I swore, and I'm sorry about that.
He was wearing a wire. And the feds didn't realise. He turned the tables against them. Well, how long did the original incident actually last, the actual incident?
45 seconds.
45 seconds. And so far it's cost...
£250,000
Yes, it has. Yes.
To investigate.
Can we get the Chinese pay for that?
160 million people in China watched it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But they must really not have liked him. There must have been a build-up of animosity towards him.
Yeah, do you think he'd ridden up to the gates most days and said, open it?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Clapping his hands. Open, come on! Bike here, eco!
You know, it's a terrible dilemma. Do you believe a Tory member of the cabinet or a policeman? You know, public's got a real problem there.
Police whistleblower has actually come forward. You mentioned that.
They're all
about talking about a
whistleblowers,
result.
They're all whistleblowers. They all blow whistles.
I don't think they do anymore.
Okay. Logically, it doesn't work.
Mobile phone. When this show began, you could have done that joke. I don't mean today. I mean 20 years ago.
I felt tense because you went very quiet. And I thought, oh God, I've cut across a friend of Tom Cruise's.
Well, a whistleblower has come forward with the result of a plot to get Mitchell. And he says that Mitchell had a row at the gates the previous evening as well, after which one of the officers had said, right, we can stitch him up. I love the idea that they actually said it like you would in the Beano.
And so, to round two, the strengthometer of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's the first one.
That's a cake, isn't it? It's the Great British Bake Off winner, that is. So there was talk about there being some misogyny. Some people on the internet were very harsh about some of the contestants, I believe. Go on, what is it now?
We were just going to tell you who the people were.
The gentleman on the left is Monsieur Raymond Blanc, the television chef, and he tweeted what appeared to be a sarcastic remark about the winner 24 hours before the winner was announced, and possibly spoilt the whole competition.
But he got it wrong, because it wasn't the winner.
Indeed, he said, you know, French is my second language. Theresa May then phoned up and said, oh, you're some froggy waller, are you? Well, get out, get out.
This is what he tweeted. The Great British Bake Off, not much skills, female tears, and a winner so thin who makes me doubt her love for great cooking, baking. Who did that text refer
Ruby.
to?
It referred to Ruby.
That's Ruby.
Ah, yes.
But you can't really tell how thin she is there, because she could have, like, a really massive body under there. Must have more photos of myself taken from that height.
And this is the winner.
Francis. Right. And a lot of Bake Off fans were furious. Yeah. What did former finalist Mary-Ann Boermans compare the situation to? Do you know?
No.
The end of the Crimean War.
She said it was like someone saying Snape killed Dumbledore before you've read the book.
Good grief.
Have you all read
Is that
Harry Potter?
Oh, no! My children and grandchildren are watching this. You've just ruined 7 people's childhood.
Well, good. Let's see what Frances said about her personality. My key ingredients are a dollop of randomness, a teaspoon of wonder, a pinch of eccentricity, a drop of serendipity, a handful of curiosity, a fluid ounce of fun, and a cup of cold sick. So, this is the grand final of Bake Off, which I watched this week. It was contested by 3 female cooks, which is odd because I happen to know for a fact that the best bakers are all male, and they're all called Greg. One of the finalists, Ruby Tandoh, received a lot of coverage for her looks. She complained, saying, if I see one more person use the pun doe-eyed, I will personally go to their house and force-feed them an entire Charlotte Royale. Ruby, you're doe-eyed. Yeah. That's dough with an O-U-G-H. If I'm not at home, leave it with my neighbour. Thank you. Paul and John, here's another for you.
Oh, cricket, obviously, black and white. The Pope. Yes, what's that? The Holy Beach Ball of Lords. What's that? Nuns. At least one of them's a man, I can see from here. The Vatican's got its own cricket team.
It has. Do you know what they're called?
The Angels. The Saints. The Pope's cricket team. The Vatican 11.
They're called the St Peter's Cricket Club. And if you ask for an LBW decision, they'll deny you 3 times, apparently. Yes, get those references in. Yes, sorry, Giles. What does the Pope think of it?
Yeah, they have 6-day matches, but never 7.
The Pope is really into football.
He is indeed, as we can see here in this photo. Oh, bollocks, it's not coming. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm being quite unprofessional tonight. It's hormones, everyone. It's not really. I haven't got any hormones in my body anymore, thank God. My husband's pleased. I haven't assaulted him for months. Do you know what Father Theodore Mascarenhas, the Vatican Cricket Club president, had to say? By the way, to give you a clue, he's an Indian spin bowler and he moves the ball in a mysterious way. Sorry. Well, he said, we hope that one day we will be able to translate silly mid-off into Latin. Want to have a crack at that, Giles?
My Latin is terrible. For years, I thought in loco parentis meant my dad's an engine driver.
Julius Caesar used to tell that one.
Fingers on buzzers teams for the next one.
Have they shut the Humber Bridge to stop people going to Hull?
Stop people going to Hull?
Yeah.
They don't want any more tourists. They've got enough.
Maybe they're trying a new slogan, Hull, 1 letter different from hell.
Could be it, couldn't it? Well, you're in the right neighbour. Both of you in the right neighbourhood.
John Prescott's from Hull, or was MP for Hull.
Yeah. That's why they just close Hull.
Yes. He's not an MP anymore, is he? Other than being no, he
Member
says
of the House of Lords.
Oh right, he's a lord in Hull as well.
Is he the Lord of Hull?
Well, I don't know. I am the Lord of Hull.
It is to do with Hull, but it's actually The Economist magazine. They have a very specific view on Hull.
It should be shut down. Is that what they...
Absolutely right, yes. The Economist magazine thinks that the city should be closed down along with Burnley, Middlesbrough and Hartlepool.
Closed down?
Just closed down.
Why?
The Economist described any efforts to save struggling northern communities as misguided. You lived in Leeds, didn't you?
Yeah, I was born in Leeds.
You were born in Leeds?
Yeah.
Should they close that down?
Leeds is doing very well. It's
Is it doing
thriving.
well? Have you heard of Leeds, Ian?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a football team in Leeds, isn't there?
There is. Leeds United. Yeah.
You see? Local knowledge.
Paul, any view on Leeds?
So good they named it once.
Yes, this is The Economist magazine's plan to shut Hull. Grim, dull and uninspiring. The Economist comes out every week.
What else have they got left to sell off?
I think the next one will be lampposts. I think they'll sell off lampposts and you'll have to put 5p in a little meter. And it'll give you just enough light to get to the next one and you put another...
Somewhere George Osborne is writing that down, you know that.
You know, the Royal Mail owns a brilliant miniature electric railway that goes from Paddington to Whitechapel.
Yeah.
And it used to take the mail right across London. It hasn't been used for about 8 to 10 years.
That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it, to use that?
Yeah, they're thinking about using it for shops on Oxford Street. They could have their own little spout and then they put all the goods up and down it and it just whizzes around.
Mark, you were saying earlier that Margaret Thatcher always refused to sell off the Royal Mail. What reason did she give?
Oh, wasn't it something about the Queen's head, wasn't it?
Yeah, she said, I am not prepared to have the Queen's head privatised.
Yeah.
Because it was Dennis's favourite pub, I think.
Hey.
What else did we find out about Margaret Thatcher
She
this
swore
week?
quite a lot.
I bet she didn't describe people as that bigoted woman, though, did she, when the radio mic was left on?
Probably not. She probably didn't say we've just won the World Cup either. There's lots of things she didn't say. Can't go through them all now.
Oh, go on, just a couple more.
A couple more. That's not my kitten. I'm sorry, officer, I had no idea it was hydrochloric acid. Those are the 3 things she's never said.
I tell you what, I bet she used to have a ride on that little Royal Mail train there.
Exactly, screaming like a banshee.
I'm not for turning, she'd say when she was on it. When it got to Whitechapel, she'd have to walk back.
Now, who reshuffled themselves this week?
An extremist are you looking for, Richard?
I am looking for an extremist, but that's after the show.
Tommy Robinson.
Oh, the English Defence League.
Tommy Robinson, the English Defence League.
Tommy Robinson, absolutely
Yes.
right. What did he do this week?
He resigned from the English Defence League and...
He found out, much to his horror, that a lot of them were racist.
I can't...
Didn't understand
I don't know
that
what's
bit.
going on. I mean, we used to march into Muslim areas and that and go Muslims out and we hate Muslims and we hate Pakis and that, and then it turns out some of them were anti-Islam. So I went off them.
And do you know what Tommy... And do you know what Tommy Robinson does for a living?
Did he work at United Nations? Because he could see sick children with Roger Moore and Lulu.
He also used to run a tanning shop.
Exactly right, yes.
What, changing the colour of people's skin?
Yeah.
So your customer comes in, come in, madam, and next after half an hour later, you can get out.
Ed Miliband, of course, used his conference speech to position himself further to the left of politics, people say. But did you see how he appears to be growing his own Michael Goves? And you can see, sort of... It's like a Gove farm, and on the right, that's a sort of young beginner Gove, and then slightly more mature further to the left, and then the one on the left of the picture, that's nearly finished.
Actually looks like the world's dullest boy band, don't it?
No direction.
And finally, would anyone like to see the chat-up technique of Danny Fancy a Brandy Alexander?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's just this conference has been so busy, so I've had so many things to do. So I haven't been up late, relaxing in the bar. So that's not a
That'll
problem.
come on Wednesday, maybe?
Maybe tonight.
Maybe tonight, good.
How about you?
Yes, this is the Labour Party conference and the Daily Mail's character assassination of Marxist historian Ralph Miliband, who they described as the man who hated Britain. For legal reasons, we can't make any derogatory comments about Daily Mail editor Paul Dacre, but apparently his dad's an arsehole. Sorry, was an arsehole.
I'm not in touch with Vivienne Westwood.
Right.
Though I did get married in Vivienne Westwood, so...
Did you?
You know, yeah.
What, inside her?
Karen Brady, off of The Apprentice, was at the Tory party conference. What was she wearing? I mean, what was she there for?
Oh, yes. Well, I can tell you what she was wearing.
Okay, you can say
it was
what
one
you...
of those body illusion dresses that makes you look half the size you are.
Yes, a
Is that
bodycon
That's
dress.
the one. Yeah.
Yes.
heard of that.
Well,
Sounds good.
Really good, yeah. Try one next time.
I will, yeah.
Not that I'm saying you need to.
No, not saying I want to. But I'm not.
We can have a look at Karen Brady's bodycon dress. If you believed the bodycon there, you'd just call an ambulance, wouldn't you? Yes. Brady was there to introduce George Osborne. Do you know how she did that?
George Osborne.
Bill Clinton did Tony Blair once.
Really?
I mean, introduced him.
Get your wife to do it now. That's the other thing at the conference.
Say,
I think
you're the
after
hero.
Justine's performance in the Ed Miliband show, no wife is going to do it again, are they? Did anyone
She
see
was
that?
told to kiss him.
Oh, yeah, and she has to do it.
Well,
not even prostitutes have to kiss. And there was also a spectre at the feast at the Tory conference. Do you know who that was?
Oh, Nigel Farage.
Yes, and I suppose the ghost of Margaret Thatcher was probably
because she was
there.
invoked, wasn't she?
Was she?
The mummy.
They did a séance.
Anyway, he turned up, didn't he?
Yes, he turned up in Manchester to address a lunatic fringe... Sorry, Freudian slip. A fringe meeting. Here he is arriving.
Do you expect a warm welcome at the Tory conference?
No.
That's the spirit.
What did David Cameron do recently in an attempt to boost his own popularity?
Cut his throat.
We would have heard about that, wouldn't we? It's supposed to be Twitter.
Yes, of course he joined Twitter.
According to the Mail, Cameron spent the weekend being bombarded with abuse. And then he joined Twitter.
Anyway, you are on Twitter, aren't you, all the time?
Yes.
So what did Cameron say on Twitter? What's he telling us?
Oh, I don't follow him.
So, on the sort of substance of the conference, what were the big policy announcements this week?
We're going back to being the nasty party.
You can. That's a fact, isn't it?
We've had 7 years of hugger hoodie and, you know... Now they've dumped all that crap and it's back to, you know, beat up the poor. Yeah.
Beat up who?
The poor.
Beat up the poor? I missed that slogan.
But you can beat up burglars now as long as you're not grossly disproportionate. So you can kill them, but you can't poo on their head.
And just to make sure that we were certain of what we could and couldn't do, Justice Secretary Chris Grayling told the Today programme, I think if a burglar is out cold on the floor and you stick a knife in him, that, in my judgment, would be grossly disproportionate.
When it comes to tax, what does every politician really want?
To be able to declare their own tax affairs, make them public.
Transparency. isn't it?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And what do they mean by transparency in this case?
We're not going to do it.
They mean revealing a very small amount of information that doesn't tell you too much.
Yeah.
So you just put your income in, and if income isn't your big thing, if, say, assets, say you're in the cabinet, just thinking randomly, then you don't have to declare those. So, you know, transparency up to a point, which is opaque.
That makes a lot of sense, yes. Yes, according to The Guardian, there is an agreement between Cameron and Osborne that all senior ministers should be transparent. Let's hope... Let's hope they don't mean Eric Pickles. Yuck. According to The Express, Cameron is relaxed about revealing his income tax returns. According to The Telegraph, George Osborne says he hasn't set his face against it. Which face does he use when he sets his face against it? Does he use this face? Or this face? Or this face? So why is it all kicking off now? What started this rumpus?
It's Ken Livingstone.
That's right.
It was discovered that Ken had said that people who avoid tax are rich bastards who shouldn't be allowed to vote. And then it turned out that he pays a lot of his earnings into a company and pays not tax at 40%, but corporate tax at 21%. And a lot of people irresponsibly thought he's avoiding tax. What a bastard. Then there was a fight between him and Boris.
In a radio station, in a lift. What did he call him, though? Did he call him a lying wanker?
No, it was the F word.
Lying wanker?
I'm not helping here, am I?
That happens to be one of our finest banks.
You're very close. Boris screamed into Ken's face, "You're a liar." Presumably a phrase Boris picked up from his wife.
And we start with the biggest stories of the week. Ian and Nadine, take a look at this.
They're winning, that's the Penguin. He won, he's Mayor of London. Oh, he hasn't won. He's pondering. Hello! There's the Penguin. Oh, off with the jacket.
Is that the reaffirmation of marriage vows?
It is!
Who was the bride?
Nick.
Oh. Well, we know what happens to the bride on her wedding night, don't we?
No, this is the elections, and it didn't go very well for the coalition. And the reason it didn't go very well is because Nadine attacked the Prime Minister.
Nothing to do with the Lords reform being one of our main policies when the country's in recession. Yeah, absolutely, totally my fault, completely down to me.
Excuse me, Miss Nadine, you say that it was your fault, yet your tone does not convince me.
Yeah, you took a drubbing, didn't you, Nadine? Good result for Labour. How many seats did they gain?
740
823. We saw Professor Pongu there in Edinburgh.
He beat the Lib Dem candidate. Yes, he did. The Penguin got more votes.
74 more votes than the Lib Dem.
But I think that's because he was wearing black tie. People like posh Nadine, they do really.
But is there already a whiff of scandal? There is a belief that perhaps there might be a man inside this Penguin.
Meanwhile, Boris Johnson narrowly won a second term in London. How did Boris respond when asked whether he had ambitions to become Prime Minister?
You know.
Well, according to the Daily Mail, he said he didn't want the Prime Minister's job definitively, categorically, emphatically.
That means he does, then.
But would you object to Boris as Tory leader? Because he's quite posh.
I have nothing against where he was educated. It's how one relates to people who, I suppose, aren't posh. And the vast majority of people in the UK don't go to Eton or Oxford and
do they not?
Aren't privileged. You have to be able to relate to the ordinary lives of ordinary people, and Boris does that.
What, you think he's in touch? Well, I know he's in touch with a lot of the electorate.
That's why he's got a bike.
So here's Boris celebrating his victory. Every inch the statesman. There he is.
And we start with the bigger stories of the week.
Yeah, great.
George Osborne. Oh, it's just handsome hunks Friday.
This is the autumn statement, which was quite cheery. George Osborne announced that it's not as bad as you think. It's worse. It's just so gloomy, it's unbelievable. Everything's up. Misery, austerity, poverty.
Yeah,
it sort of makes you yearn for when people said, no, things are going to get better and it'll be all right. He just said, no, it's terrible. Until 2018, it's just awful.
Yeah. He should have just thrown his paper and gone, F it, why bother?
So that's his prediction, is it?
No,
Just...
he's changed his predictions. His previous predictions, unfortunately, weren't true. Or didn't come true. Yeah. And his new predictions are much more realistic.
Are they?
Yeah, he says it's going to be really awful.
He says there'll be negative growth for the end of 2012, which means it's a triple-dip recession.
Ooh.
Sounds like a delicious ice cream.
But we have got growth. We've got the Duchess of Cambridge. She's having growth on our behalf.
And she will be a beacon in my life.
A beacon of hope.
As I see my pension fund I started now worth 3 peanuts and a bauble. As I slowly rot in my
You're
shed.
not going to slowly rot in a shed.
Those are comforting words as we approach Christmas.
There's always someone worse off than yourself.
Yes. It is, yeah.
As the Queen often refers. What did Ed Balls say about all this?
He got it all wrong, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
I didn't see it myself, but he sort of got the opening phrases all a bit wrong and it all collapsed a little bit.
Yes, he said the national deficit is not rising, it's rising, it's not falling.
Yeah. That was his zinger.
Yeah.
Against the government. And they just sat there and they laughed at him.
But then there was discussion about whether all this wasn't down to his stammer.
He said it makes it much worse when people shout at me.
It's so stressful and difficult, isn't it? All the numbers and adding it up, and is it going up or going down, and who should we tax? And then people are shouting at you. It's very unfair on poor old Ed Balls, and it's been months since he's managed to find time to buy some sausage rolls for himself. You know...
And he's got a terrible job because he's been saying, look, we don't need to, you know, cut the debt this fast. And the government's going, no, we haven't cut it because we're useless. So he has to get up and say, you haven't.
You failed to do the thing I told you would be a disaster if you did it. And it's a disaster.
Yeah. No wonder he stammered.
It's basically very sporting of him on the day that George Osborne gets up and shows himself to be an idiot who knows nothing, to say, I'll join in with you, George, and seem like the alternative is possibly worse.
Look at this.
Andrew Mitchell, the former Chief Whip.
Oh, hello.
Hello, hate mail.
PC Pleb and Proud, the Hampshire Pleb and Proud.
And that's Michael Crick, the reporter who's got to the heart of this story.
What is the heart of this story?
The heart... It's Christmas, Panto. The heart of the story is that everyone thought that the bad person here was the Chief Whip, Andrew Mitchell, but it may be that it's the police themselves. Thank you, I said it was Panto. That's sort of how these stories run now.
I don't think the police would behave like that. What do you think, boys and girls? Oh, no, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't fake a police log. Yes, I think they would. Would they have it in for the Chief Whip because he was trying to impose odd terms and conditions on them?
Are we going to do the whole show like that?
And does anyone know why that VT was pixelated at the end?
It's copyright, isn't it?
That's right.
Almost everything. So beneath that pixelating, I think, there are the Olympic rings.
Yeah. And in some cultures, are the rings considered pornographic?
I think that's what's under there. They look like rings from here. Are you going to unpixelate it in an act of daring?
I'm not actually allowed to show you, because if I did, I would get sent to Jordan with... No, the V2 is pixelated because we're not allowed to show the Olympic logo because it comes under the remit of 2 Acts of Parliament preventing misuse of Olympic logos. Well, I mean, we could have got permission, but I'd have had to have jumped through all sorts of hoops. So,
It was very heavily policed in China, wasn't it? Didn't they go into the toilets and if you get a... one of those hand dryers, they have to put sticky tape over the name of the company who do the hand dryers. Or something
really?
Like that.
They're actually going to be doing that here, yes.
Yes.
In the toilet, soap dispensers, wash basins.
And you're not allowed to take in any drink or product that isn't sponsored.
Yes, yes.
Which is going to be tough for the Queen, isn't it?
Why?
She's a brand.
Oh, I see what you mean. I thought you meant
brand.
she liked a McDonald's burger.
Yeah.
She's having a full Adidas tracksuit run as we speak. Also, the athletes aren't allowed to tweet. I know there's like a really hardcore guidelines about what they're allowed to say on the internet about what they're doing, what they're... Like, they can't say, oh, I'm so thirsty, I love water. It has to be like, I love super action mega water.
But there's also, isn't there something about sort of local businesses like the Olympic Kebab Grill or something that's been forced to change its name in case people think, oh, I wonder if that's the official kebab shop at the Olympic Games.
Absolutely. The Olympic Cafe in Stratford was told he couldn't call his restaurant Cafe Olympic and he'd have to change the sign. Now, it would have cost him £3,000 to change it, so according to the Newham Recorder, he decided to make the necessary alterations with minimal expense.
That's very good.
Well, he's painted the O out, so if you have trouble finding it, the Cafe Olympic is excellent value, and it's at 61 West Ham Lane, Stratford, E15 4PH. Now, there's all sorts
Do you have to book?
You probably do now.
catch up with Adam Werrity. Do you remember Adam Werrity?
He was Dr. Fox's friend.
There he is. He gave an interview to The Spectator this week, and amongst other things, we found out what his plans are for New Year's Eve.
So he's going to spend it with the foxes.
Yes, he is.
They're very forgiving.
Yeah.
Is he a friend of Dr. Fox's, like William Hague had that friend?
You should have a chat with our lawyer about that one.
Yeah.
How do you spell innuendo? You're doing countdown. You should brush up on these things.
Don't talk to me about that.
No, right, have you done... Well,
I see all these letters.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, my God. And I get cat.
Yes.
And then some kid
Yeah.
says cataclysmic.
Yeah. It's only 9 letters, isn't there?
I don't know.
No.
Yes, he is indeed. Paul, you're right. He's going to be round at the Foxes.
It's just staggering how naive some of these senior politicians can be. Staggering. And then Cameron brings in Coulson into number 10. It's the sort of bloke you wouldn't have in the house.
There is the happy man. Oh, there he is. Look. Yes, it's the new royal wedding for next year to cope with the economic straits, the terrible climate out there. It takes all our mind off it by saying, look, she looks like Diana. Look at her, look at her. And that's what we're all going to do.
She's a commoner as well, because she's only upper middle class. What is it they said she's going to make the royal family more accessible to the public?
Yes.
I think it sets a challenge for Prince Harry to go and find himself a proper scumbag.
What was Harry's response to the engagement? It means I can get a sister.
He fell into a deep coma. The sheer tedium of the subject. He said, even as a member of the royal family, I've had it up to here, he said. Or was it up to there? I can't remember.
And they promised me I wouldn't be forced into doing any painful puns in light of a recent incarnation of mine as Sherlock Holmes. So without any further ado, let's move on to round 2. The round of the Baskervilles. Buzz when you know what the story is.
Yes, this is the Kim Jong-un, whatever his name is, and that's his son there who's had sewn onto his lapel. They sat in the Korean town square and watched these idiots parading up and down with their boots, identical marching and stuff, just a ludicrous display of conformity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is pretty much what this is about. But let's just get the North Korean names straight, shall we?
Yes, do.
Who's this? That's Kim Il-sung. Kim Il-sung, the previous dictator.
Yeah. Oh, right, yeah.
That's Kim Jong-il.
Yeah.
Looking a little bit lonely. Now for his son,
yeah.
Kim Jong-un.
It looks like he might bring hope and optimism to a bereaved nation.
And so who's this then? If it's not Danny Dyer.
Is that the other son?
It is the other son, Kim Jong-nam.
He's not got the job as next dictator. He's given it to the younger son. Because the father didn't like him.
Do you know why he didn't like him?
Was it a hat?
Did he dislike him because he's got a small lampshade tied to his index finger? There's another fathers that put them right off you.
No, he wanted to visit Disneyland Tokyo. ITV had a man in the field there, and the intrepid reporter attempted to assess the relative popularity of the Kims. Let's have a look how he did it.
There are no opinion polls in this country of dictators, but I did get a chance to carry out an extremely unscientific measure of the young general's popularity. Well, let's see how popular the new leader will be. Kim Jong-sung. Kim Jong-il. Kim Jong-un. Much more popular.
This is the unveiling of Kim Jong-un as successor to Kim Jong-il. Chief of the North Korean army, Ri Yong-ho, had a message for the nation saying, if the US imperialists and their followers infringe on our sovereignty and dignity even slightly, we will blow up the stronghold of their aggression with a merciless and righteous retaliatory strike. Adding LOL, smiley face, kiss, kiss. Ian and Nancy, how they look at this.
That's a Tory MP. You can tell they're all like that. That's a Labour MP.
Yeah.
That's Tom Watson. Ah, Murdoch's been arrested. He's in the slammer. Bye-bye. And they can't bear to look. It's so sad.
Yes, they are very sad.
So that's it. Big news. Murdoch's inside. And he's...
Not strictly true.
No, it isn't, is it? I was suddenly in the world of fantasy. There's been a select committee, and they delivered their report. And they said that Murdoch was willfully blind. And they said his son was willfully ignorant about the phone hacking and what was going on in News International. So it was a really bad day for the Murdochs.
Yeah, I think there are some important questions to be answered by all of Rupert Murdoch's employees.
I think there are.
Yeah, so here we go. What do you think about it, Jeremy? Well, I think as a Sun journalist, it's just a lot of stuff and nonsense and a storm in a teacup. So there we are, moving on. Paul?
I thought you were talking to me there when you said, what do you think, Jeremy? I thought you just forgot my name.
You're not the only Sun journalist. Nancy writes for The Sun.
On the Sunday, a column about fashion. Now, I can't believe myself when I accepted.
You shocked yourself, did you?
Actually, I shocked myself many times. So, yes, every day, even a shock was there when I walked in the mirror in the morning. I can surprise I'm getting beautiful and beautiful every day. So,
Do we have any English guests on this?
Now, don't start. Do you need an interpreter?
Yeah.
OK, I'll translate. Nancy
Right.
was really ashamed of herself for taking money from Murdoch.
Yeah.
Is that not it? You know, there's a shortage of court interpreters in this country. I think I might apply.
Why do you think you speak the perfect English?
Do I think I speak perfect English? These things are relative. But I don't speak 5 languages, unlike you, so...
Thank you.
I'm just trying to be helpful.
Stop flirting! You did actually once say, didn't you, that any man who doesn't flirt with you must be gay?
Yes, I...
The Telegraph, thousands of people lining the streets have given the relay a carnival feel. For example, someone dressed as a cod and another as a chip in Falmouth. You Brits really know how to put on a show.
You wait till you see our opening ceremony.
There'll be hundreds of chips.
6 or 7 cod.
Morris in a giant cod costume.
This is the Olympic torch, which is boldly going where no Olympic torch has gone before. Namely, yes, I agree with you. Namely, Turo and Il Fracum.
Sounds deeply sexual. Kind of like a cigar advert.
Have you been to Il Fracum?
I have.
The place is laced with prostitution.
That's their new slogan now.
That's right. Come and get laid in Il Fracum.
So this is Wayne Rooney, who this week has had a hair transplant.
Do you know how the operation actually works?
Yeah. They find the hairs on his arse and pull them all the way through.
I knew it.
Well, apparently what they do is they dig out the hair follicles from a place on his body where the hair's still growing.
Yeah, exactly.
And stick them on his head.
Exactly.
How did the news leak out that Wayne had had a weave?
He tweeted on Twitter. He showed his bonce, his arse bonce to the world. His bum head was displayed. There we are. There he is, old bottom nut.
Not bad, but he was actually trying to take a picture of a dog having a shit.
What, in his car?
What did his message that accompanied the picture say?
My head feel great, but my ass hurt a little bit.
And how would you describe Wayne's old hairstyle?
Defunct, gone.
Well, technically it's known as a widow's peak, which usually for Wayne is around 75. His avatar on the brand new FIFA 12 football game will need to be altered as it features his old widow's peak. I think actually if you look closer in the background of that picture, you can just make out Ryan Giggs shagging his sister-in-law.
I think that the news channels
were upset that the storm was as bad as it was predicted.
It's very odd listening to the news, because the news was, there's this terrific storm, whatever it is, about to hit America. What will it do to the election? And you thought, well, what will it do to the people?
And then the first thing they kept saying was, oh, Obama's got to look presidential. He's got to appear presidential. But what does that mean? Like, I mean, if you go, there's a storm coming, we're all going to die! That'd be unpresidential. Just not do that.
That and holding people's head under the water. Don't do that. It's funny, yes.
President Obama, all right, why has he been arriving everywhere with pizza?
Has
under
he?
his arm? Yeah, he has.
Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. I brought some food. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. Don't move forward.
Why does he think they need pizza?
He's practising for
it loses
2
his
weeks'
job,
time.
It does give, does it not, the news channels the opportunity to run their annual competition to see which reporter can stand in the stupidest place in bad weather. This is always my favourite thing in bad weather. I think in third place, up to his knees, in water. Second place, man, bit breezy there. Right? But for me, the winner is this chap.
Look at the water actually just pouring over the seawall now as...
Always love that. Obviously, any American story like this has to come to Britain. The Daily Mail Online, OK, yesterday said, strong winds and heavy seas begin to build on this side of the Atlantic. And here comes the photo they ran.